The CoCo Nation Show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCo Nation Show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCo Nation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCo Nation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to episode 326 of the CoCo Nation Show. How y'all doing?
Doing all right. How you doing?
I see we have a beard section.
Yeah.
Yeah, beard row.
Yeah.
I planned it that way. Let's see who we got all on the channel with us today. Upper left-hand corner with the ZZ Top look, we got Patrick Euland.
Grade 1 of 6, reporting in.
And then we got Ron Delvaux.
Yes, it's me.
And Marco.
Hey there, glad to be here as usual.
And Jim R.
Hey, CoCo Nation, how's things?
Doing fine. Let's see. Next up, Bob Emery.
Howdy, howdy.
All right. Next over, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello. And Alan.
Yep, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
We don't see you today.
And the
that's a
second
good
row,
thing.
yours truly. And next over, Brian Weasler.
Hello all, welcome to the show.
L. Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone, and welcome to the bottom middle where it's the foreign correspondence.
And then we got Nick.
Hi, everyone.
What an intro.
Don't pick on me. I live down here.
Nick, you have a rep.
So he's in
Yeah.
the people's only corner.
It's like the Hollywood squares.
I'm in the bad corner.
Well, that explains why Grant's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Next up is Grant.
Hello, everybody. Just remember, I am the best person on this show, so don't forget that.
You're the best person in your little panel on the show. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, and the choice between Grant or the thing behind Grant in the picture.
That's a toss-up.
Yeah,
I kind of like the tornado.
Yeah. Well, he's taking a break from chasing them because they're chasing him now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's everybody on the panel. Let's see. So we start up with the project updates.
Sure.
Do it.
All right. Brian, you ready?
Sure.
Okay. You're up.
Okay.
I wish Zoom would get rid of the stupid hand. I have no idea why they do that. There we go. Spotlight.
Brian, is that a Christmas tree?
Yes, it is.
It's nice. I wasn't saying anything about it.
We'll go like this, and there we go. There, that better.
Okay.
Keep everybody in the spirit. At least not there yet. So,
I mean, you can get those things in Home Depot right now.
right? Yeah, they seem like you get done with Easter, and they're already ready for Christmas.
I thought for sure.
Unfortunately, right now they probably melt, but
I thought you would tell us that it's controlled by a MC10 or something.
No, sorry. Sorry to disappoint you there.
Okay.
Future project.
Dang, Brian,
Right?
he ruined your surprise for this winter.
Right. Yeah, he took all of my wind. This first one here, kind of an interesting story. I kind of chuckle a little bit. I'll go ahead and show what it is first, and then we can talk about it here. Bingo. There we are. Everybody recognize what that is?
A box.
It's a box.
Yeah.
Tape has been removed.
Looks like a Radio Shack box.
It is a Radio Shack box. And anybody know what's in the box?
Melted keyboard.
Air.
Air.
Air. It is 80s air. No.
It is a CoCo.
Seriously, air.
It is a CoCo box. So this was out on eBay, and the guy had it listed for like $20. And I thought about picking it up. It didn't have the styrofoam in it. But I have some CoCos that are out of boxes, and so thought it might be kind of nice to kind of match it up. Put the this is for a 263127 CoCo. And I kind of hesitated whether to buy it or not, but I went ahead.
Wait a minute now. I see this coming. You're going to tell me that the serial number on the side of the box has to do with one of the computers you have.
No.
No,
nope.
Darn.
There's not even a serial number on the side of the box. The serial number sticker fell off. So the guy had it listed for $20, and I thought about buying it, and I held off, and so he relisted it, and had the auction, and had it started an auction at 50 cents. And so I watched it, and no one was bidding on it. No one bidding on it. Someone must have put a bid on it because it went all the way up to a whopping 52 cents. So I went ahead, and towards the end of the auction, I went ahead and I thought, well, I've got to do something with this thing, because the guy had it as free shipping. And so I was about ready to put 20. So I thought, well, maybe, some other people might be ready to bid right at the very last second. So I bid it at the last second for $20, and it went all the way up to 55 cents. I reached out to the seller because I felt kind of bad about the whole thing. No response, and he shipped it to me. So this is my 55-cent CoCo box.
55 cent and free shipping.
How much was the shipping though?
Shipping was free. Free shipping.
Oh, he paid something to ship it, didn't he?
I'm sure he did. That's why
more than 52 cents, I'm pretty sure too.
It didn't say on the outside.
Oh, I don't know, but I think it was like $10 or something he probably paid.
Oh,
so
okay.
but I
if you shipped it UPS, it could have been hundreds of dollars and not gotten there for 4 weeks.
Right. So
forever.
So I felt kind of bad, but like I said, I reached out to the seller, but no response. So I guess I guess it is what it is. So so this will be, I'll get a CoCo into this box here and go from there. So I thought.
And you have one of the earlier CoCo 2s with the melty keyboards to put in there?
Yeah. Yep.
Why am I asking that? That's such a dumb question to ask you.
It's like asking if he drinks water.
Yeah.
So yes, so I thought that was kind of an interesting story, but kind of funny. Okay, this next thing I'd like to show you guys, and Curtis, you and I talked about this at one time. And it's kind of cool. I don't see it out in the archive, so this will be added to my project list as well of things to scan in here. Let me zoom in just a bit there. There we go.
Brian, before you go too far, did you want to buy some foam from me?
Oh, maybe we might be able to do that.
If it's 52 cents with free shipping, sure.
Right. Yep.
$80.
I recognize that.
Anybody recognize this?
Oh yeah. Cartoons and all, man. I love the cartoons in that.
So this is the I think this was put out by Green Mountain. Was done this. Dennis is it Kurtz? Is that right?
Kitz.
Kitz. Dennis Kitz had put this together with from Green Mountain here. So it's kind of it's kind of like the same sort of learning thing where you have the cassettes and everything, kind of like the one that you see listed all the time out there.
Yeah, the Color Computer Learning Lab by Tandy was the basic version of this, and this is the assembly one.
Yep.
Basically.
So and you can see here it is done by Dennis. What I thought was kind of cool though is you flip a couple pages in here. It talks about hooking up how to hook up the cassette and everything. But what I thought was kind of nice is it was signed.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So, 1983.
Nice.
That's roughly when it came out, if I remember.
Yeah. So it like a lot of the things, it's all laid out here. I don't know is that coming through clear enough there for you guys? There we go.
So how much would you pay for the disc version?
I don't think Dennis ever made a disc version.
No, I know. I just wondered how much you would.
Oh, I don't know. But it breaks it down into all the different pieces. So it might be kind of interesting to listen to. But I'm going to go ahead and add this to my list of archiving.
There he is.
Yep. That's his Robert Crumb inspired drawing of himself.
So are the tapes pure data, or are they?
I think they're audio tapes, aren't they?
They're audio tapes. It's lecture.
Yep, it's audio.
And they're on his site.
Yeah.
Oh, they're on his site. Okay.
Yeah, he's put them up for free on the site.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you can download
Thanks, Dennis.
The MP3s for listening and the PDFs for the manuals.
And for folks who are new to the community, Dennis is also who is the guru in charge of the CoCo mailing list.
Yes.
He hosts the server.
Right. Okay.
Also the creator of the lower kit, the first lowercase kit we ever had for the CoCo for the T1 came out. He also did stuff for the Model 1 and 3 even before that.
Wrote articles all over the place.
He's also a composer.
Yep.
He's
He's also related to the famous Elizabeth Bathory kits, the person that supposedly drank blood back in the 1500s.
And we needed to know that.
Oh yeah.
He mentioned it on his interview with us, so it's public knowledge.
Yes.
Were you sleeping during that part, Ron?
I must have been.
I guess I'm kind of curious if anybody that's on the panel or if there's anybody listening has actually gone through this at all and what they thought of it.
Just the PDFs, just breeze through it.
Yes, and it's actually very well done. Dennis has a very particular style of his own. You're not going to find another assembly language tutorial like it.
Would that be a period? Kits.
What?
KITZ.
Yeah, kids.
KITZ. Oh, kits. Oh, okay. Thank you. I like to look that up.
But on the in the back here, though, it has the spec manuals for some of the different chips here. So here's the 6847
VDG, PIA.
Yep. Here's the 6821 and the processor or 6809. Oops, is there another one here? Oh, and
The SAM.
Yep, the 7473. Oh, that's it. And then the other set of cassettes on the back there then. So anyway.
Nice catch. How'd you find it?
What's that?
Did you find it right on eBay?
No, this is part of a lot.
Oh, okay.
But I just thought I'd kind of share it with the group there. So kind of nice there. So if it's out on his site, then I don't know, maybe if I need to go to all the trouble of archiving it if it's available out there.
Yeah, it's available on his site. I don't know if it's on the archive, but it's available on his site.
I didn't see it on the archive, so
It's not.
but no, that's all I wanted to share with you guys today was those two things.
Very cool. You should give that a try if that one book that I recommended about doing it from basic doesn't work. Dennis's lab is a good one.
Yeah, they got good reviews back in the day too, I remember.
I mean, I've gone through it. I personally would recommend it. It is a way to learn. Especially for folks who are very audio because of the tapes. You kind of read along and follow along, and then you stop and then you do the particular exercises, but he's mostly presenting it to you directly.
Curtis, what was the thing that he did that was really cool with music and sound and walking in a room?
Color Quaver. He did a 4-voice music editing studio thing, kind of like a Musica or a Lyra. But it was called Color Quaver, and I think he was one of the first ones to actually define the waveforms properly, rather than just having a built-in one, so you could adjust the way the voices sounded.
But didn't he
have a column in Color Computer Magazine for a while too.
Didn't he have it so that if you walked in a room that
the ambient room where it would detect the presence of people and adjust the soundscape depending on where people moved. He actually demoed that at CoCo Fest.
Yep.
Wasn't that a series of CoCos that were connected together?
Yeah.
Thomas Dolby did one like that later, I think.
Yeah, because he did it originally back in the 80s, mid to late 80s, somewhere, and then he brought it to CoCo Fest in the 90s just to show it off, because we'd heard about it but never seen it before. Or heard it before, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. Bob, you up next?
All right, 1 second here. Turn my camera on. Don't look. So,
Too late.
It's naked.
all right. Well, I don't have my USB-C power cord in here, but you've already seen that anyway. I got a new thing here. So if you notice, there is something significantly different about this board.
Can't really tell from here.
Oh, yeah.
It's upside down, so Nick can tell us, give us the tour. Oh, there we go.
There's a purple piano thing there. That's an Ed Snyder upgrade board, or
So we got I got the new memory board that replaced my performance peripherals that took a dump. But
What's that other one up there?
this is the missing link here. The RF modulator has been removed. And this is a
What is that? S video out?
HDMI. That's actually an HDMI bulkhead
Adapter.
connector. So the inside will go to, like I've got the SCART to HDMI under the board here. I'll just run it up to this. And this little piece of tin here is kind of the whole key. It's actually soldered in to the board where the
Can was.
where the can was. Yeah, on this side I've actually got it going into one of the slots, and then on this side I just sanded a bit smooth, exposed some copper, and put a tab on it.
So
those I got 2 megs of RAM in it, or did you get a 512K upgrade?
I bought this one secondhand from someone on the list when my performance peripherals died.
Is it 512 or is it 2 meg though?
Yeah, it's 512.
Oh,
In
okay.
order to have 2 meg, you have to have that
The
Yeah.
little
line
dashboard
that
you-
goes. Yeah, the
board, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll probably,
couldn't quite see it, so.
I'm thinking I'm going to get one of those next, probably from Cloud9. I'll get a 2 meg board and a protector with it. In particular, this board also fried a 6309. Sorry.
Any smoke?
But, yeah.
Thankfully,
I
they're
didn't
still being
detect any
manufactured. You
smoke.
can
It
still
just
buy them.
started-
So
It just started glitching out, but you can see how I modified.
Bring
that.
it more to you. There you go.
Yeah. Basically, I kind of cut with the Dremel tool and then just sanded and filed smooth, and right about until I hit the HDMI ports themselves. You can just see the difference in the plastic.
Yeah.
And now we've got a solid external connector instead of.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it literally no cutting to the case at all.
It just-
Nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that does
I
look
guess
good.
that would work.
Cord fits in there perfectly, and it's nice and secure and snug with that tin housing holding it down. So I'll be probably doing a quick video on that for Septandy.
Awesome.
Actually, that's a good reminder for everybody. Septandy's coming up. Oh, hopefully people have some projects or things they want to put up as part of the mass hysteria about Tandy that goes around the world every September.
Indeed.
So you tapped into the pins of the RGB on the bottom. You got the SCART underneath the system board. Did you have to cut a hole through the board to bring your HDMI up through?
No, I'm actually I haven't done that yet. I'll pull the board off here. It's right now the board is just sitting down there, but actually what I do is I'm going to have I put some pins on top of the pins going down.
Right.
So there's another header on top that's actually mirrored connections. So I'll have basically just a dedicated wire for that goes under, probably still to a SCART plug, although I might have contemplated whether to take that connector off of that board and just solder the wires to it. But,
So when you do this work on this particular machine, you actually have one that you don't mess with it,
I have
won't give off the
still-
smoke.
Yeah, I still have a couple of them that are
Okay.
molested. I have one actually that still has the factory warranty sticker on it, and it doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. So hold that up for us.
yeah, that thing just kind of sitting in there right now. It's not even, you could put some sticky tape on there or something. But this having HDMI coming out, just a 1 foot curve over, plug into the back of that.
It's like a cat.
You don't really need access to any of the buttons, so. And the switch here, I didn't even show that, but that's probably the coolest part is the channel switch. Basically, it went one side is ground and one side is 8 volts. So I took out the resistor from the 8 volts and ran direct to 5 volts. And then the output of the switch goes to the pin A to the SCART connector. So that'll switch between RGB and composite using the channel 3/4 switch.
Well, that's cool. You repurposed the original connector there and the switch both for new features.
Yeah, it's like the perfect RGB mod. No case cutting.
So is this something you would do for somebody else?
Probably. I could probably make like a kit. I mean, I guess if you want to send me a board and I can remove your RF can and put an HDMI connector on it.
Is it under 700?
So the HDMI coming from the SCART converter, how are you getting that to the port that you have up on the CoCo board?
I haven't, I mean, just something like this, a little short cable. This is not
I
the
see.
one we use, but
right.
Yeah, this just probably a 1 foot HDMI to HDMI standard cable. They even have some that are like flat ribbon cable, so that might, be more conducive to this.
This is a different CoCo 3 than your one that you have that 3.5-inch floppy.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
This was actually my very original Color Computer 3, and it used to be in my repack machine, and the board died, and I've recently basically just brought it back to life with I had to put a pepper board on it, and I think I had to replace the gimme chip in here. So this is David.
So you're a hardware guy, right? I
mean,
so
sort of.
what about these people that are online and stuff that say, you just got a CoCo, you'll need to replace all those capacitors?
I haven't found that to be the case.
No, that's not the case.
Anytime anyone says replace all the capacitors, that absolutely proves they know nothing about electronics. The end.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know nothing about the CoCo because some of the capacitors used like Amiga stuff do have lots of
I'm
problems.
saying as a blanket rule, if the one thing they come up with is replace the capacitors, you can ignore that.
If it was made in the 90s, I would agree
if
with
they
it.
had specifics, then replace the capacitors. That's one thing. But
I
just say replace the capacitors, they're wrong.
I did see one guy that opened the machine up and saw the glue underneath those two big capacitors and said,
"Yeah, and they think it melted.
They're leaking. They're leaking.
Yeah,
It looks like it.
They're not leaking, are they?"
No,
it's not.
Especially not this one. You can see
it gets 20 years old and dries out. Right.
That one's laying flat.
That one's been redone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I laid it flat for I was gonna ship this to somebody in Europe, and that was just to minimize packaging, but that deal fell through. So
good thing.
This is the one that I modified for USB-C, and now it's got a HDMI as well. So all the modern ports with no case mods. Well,
neat.
My repaired keyboard is still working fine, and the silver ink is turning yellow.
But it still conducts.
Yeah. So that's all I got basically for this update. Any more?
I like they'll use the switch to go between the RGB and composite. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that was actually, like I said, that was my favorite part. I looked at the schematic and figured out it'd be pretty easy to do. So didn't even have to cut a trace or anything, just remove that resistor.
Ow.
Nice work, Bob.
Thank you.
I'm just laughing at Mark getting attacked by his cat.
Right.
Yeah, likes to type on the keyboard and then come out with the claws.
Did somebody else have a update?
Rick.
Yeah, I've got a little bit here.
Sir Rick.
So make me big. Okay, so I guess we'll call him special correspondent. Henry Strickland was at the Chaos Communication Camp in Germany, and he got some of the boffins there to play with our CoCo stuff and found a shortcoming in the CoCo IO board. They got to scoping things around, and there's a little bit of a power supply problem, which requires this major update. The teeny tiny blue wire right here. So that may be news.
Oh no.
If you're interested in electronics at all, the issue was when I moved the WizNet chip down, here being the WizNet chip, and here, this WizNet chip, I squeezed it down. I ended up cutting off this line here. So the WizNet's supposed to have 2 power supplies. It needs juice. And instead, this little weedy balance thing was trying to power the whole bottom side of the 3.3 volt rail. So yay, Chaos Communications people. And he also found a guy that's interested in writing for it. So we may have all kinds of help coming from Germany now. So I thought that was excellent news for that. And in the same vein, this was one of those weeks of, 4 hours of searching for each 30 minutes of actual doing things. I found all my test gear. So here's my test setup with Minicom started on the laptop and the ancient and honorable Fast 232 plugged into the CoCo. And that connects, it looks like this. So I've typed hello on the CoCo through the ancient, burnt, blackened Fast 232 to Minicom on the laptop. That all works great. So that's fine. I grabbed one of those hand soldered Fast 232s that I showed you a little while back and hooked it up, run Supercom, and so close. The connections are made. All of this is good, but RD should be green. We should not be sitting here. Why is that latched? We don't know.
But it works?
But, well, it's almost working.
It's not working.
It's so close. There might be one line latched. I have to figure out why is RD hung right now.
If it was green, it would be
wouldn't common sense tell you to change that that little light to green yourself by desoldering it?
Then just turn it to green. Anything fun in here? So yeah, out of the 3 of them, one almost works, one doesn't work at all, and the whole black and burnt thing works fine. But I've at least found all of my test equipment, which goes along with a big bag of extra stuff I found. So things are moving. It's just, geez, man, I put 10 hours on this thing this week and I got nothing to report. So I made a video anyway. And that was it, folks. So thank you for your support.
Awesome.
Have you had a chance to test that blue bodge wire thing that they suggested from Germany, or?
It does no harm. I now have to bodge scope probes into it to the various, because you have to check right off of the WizNet chip to see there's a glitch. And you can see that it's not stable across the 2 power pins. But as you can tell from this thing, soldering onto the power pins is
a little difficult.
Kind of a pain. Oh, look, it got big and small.
Hey, Rick, how many revisions of that board have this problem? Does the one I have this issue?
Yeah, so far the ones we have could do this. And I think what's happening by moving the timing around, we're not moving the actual timing isn't as important as the power sag, if you will, might be the issue. This is all
might be the root cause of everything. It's just insufficient power.
The problem is that the machines I have around here were all specifically kept because they ran really well. And so I don't have the problem. It makes it hard to, is this fixed? Well, I'm not really sure yet. It at least still works.
Although people are having problems, maybe see about getting this update on there and then going back and rechecking.
Exactly. I'm going to start working towards that. But like I say, this has been the week from, I've been in the attic more than I've been in my workshop. So anyway.
Okay. Any other project updates?
Nick will have one, maybe part of the Game On news. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the real update.
All right. Shall we? Okay. Next up, it would be.
Yeah,
Awful quick.
abrupt, right? Yeah, abrupt. Okay, so what we have here is Ron's Garage, which can be found on Facebook. And what I have here is a little screenshot of William Tell Overture, which I guess I learned from the comments down here that there's an ORC 90 version, which is what? It doesn't play
it's
all
built
the way
into the
through,
ROM
does
of the ORC 90 itself.
It doesn't play
That's
all the
their
way
sample
through, though.
song.
Yeah. Does it stop after a while, or?
It's not as full as the version you're showing there, like
Okay.
that one by the Howards.
All right.
That's the one that's like 8 minutes almost. I think it's the one
Yeah.
that won the Color Computer News programming contest or something, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
from
it's
82.
great. And just for kicks, I looked up the address, and you can see the house it was made at on Google Maps. Just for kicks.
You're stalking, Ron.
Well, you never know. You could see a CoCo sign off the side or a Radio Shack next door or something, but nothing. No. And then there's out in my observatory now is this machine, which Steven, every time I show this machine, Steven says this. He loves it. But anyways, that's a CoCo VGA image of the man, Denzel Washington. He's such a nice guy. And this came out so nice, I had to show it. Anyways, somebody had this up and it had Radio Shack TRS-80 over here. And I fixed it. I took it off and I put Tandy Color Computer 3 where it belongs. And that was in the probably in the Amiga group or something. And they appreciated it, I'm sure.
We can ask Frank in the chat.
Yeah. So I also was digging around and saving files off on a large hard drive that I have, and I found a couple of videos that I wanted to post about going online with CoCo One, and I did it here, and you can watch it sometime when you have a chance to see it. And then it also has that Super Pro keyboard from
Mark Data Products.
Yeah, Mark Data. And then I did it with the CoCo 3. And I used a program that's called S-Term. It's an old program, but it controls your serial ports. And
that's what you run on the PC side, right? Because you're running
yeah.
Twilight Terminal there. Yeah.
Right. And works really well. And that was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. It gets you all excited to try and hook up your computer to the internet and try and fool around with, going online. It's a lot of fun. Takes a lot of wiring and stuff. You got to hook up the, computer to the PC. This is the actual software that comes through onto the CoCo, and it also gives you a list of things that you can type in to go online with. It's pretty cool. Anyway, found a picture of a Cray. Back in the day when I saw this, I used to think, wow, this is so cool looking. It's not your typical, you had to have a terminal to make it work. And I just wonder how many CoCos would fit in there.
So Ron, just the FYI, that looks like a couch that's around it. That's actually the power supplies.
Oh, geez, is it?
It literally
yeah, I know
has-
nothing about it.
I always thought it was just heated seats for the winter up here.
Well, kind of.
And are these recording devices?
Yeah,
back
it's
here?
9-track tape drives or something.
Yeah. Wow. And Cray used to be it, right? Back in the day.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And most of the big computers today still have a lot of the stuff that Cray Research came up with.
Oh yeah.
And in
as
fact,
part of what
To say, fun fact, this one's built in a circle like that to make the wires shorter.
Oh, gee, really?
That's why the power supplies are on the outside. The computer's collected in the middle in a circle. Because
And
the
towers
time
that went off on the left.
the time to go between one bank to another was critical. So
that's amazing.
And Windows will still bring it to its knees.
Right.
Cool. Okay, so then you know, I got all kinds of people talking about it. I was playing around with Dallas Quest, right? And I said,
here comes the Brent.
I said, yeah, get the horse. It says you can't get the horse. And I said, okay, pet the horse. It says, don't fondle the horse. I couldn't believe it. I took a
This
picture.
is a ranch. Don't be doing that to our horses.
Fondle. I don't fondle the horse. I just want to pet the horse. Jeez.
It's a fine line.
And so, what's his name says, is fondle a verb? I don't know. What does that mean?
I think he meant you should try typing in fondle horse and see if it comes up with the same.
As a command.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys can find out. But you know what? The artwork on this program is really well done, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, all the different scenes and stuff.
A quick little aside, but it's related to Dallas Quest, so that's why I was going to bring it up here. If anybody watches the CoCo Show by the Amigos, they'll know that Brent is going to be taking over from Boat because Boat's busy. His wife's starting a restaurant, and he's doing some stuff with the Roman Catholic Diocese and stuff that he's getting too busy to do all the shows. So the Brent's going to be taking over. But the Brent has mentioned several times in the past, since him and Aaron grew up with the CoCo too, is that his favorite game of all time on the CoCo is Dallas Quest.
Not just mentioned. Oh no. Oh, it's not just mentioned. That's way underselling it, Curtis.
I don't know if he's ever tried to fondle the horse, but we should ask him.
World champion of Dallas Quest promotion.
And this guy says Mark Data graphic adventure games. Is this a Mark Data game?
No, that's a Datasoft.
No.
Sold through
Okay.
Tandy.
Okay, so I just wondered why he said that.
Well,
nice art.
basically, the Mark Data ones were kind of competitors. That was stuff like Trek Board and the Vortex Factor and Clickstow Island and Black Sanctum and a few others. They were the kind of the same layout with a picture on the top, animated, like clouds going by and stuff. And then the text parser is what he's asking, because the text parser in the Mark Data ones does know F-bombs and those kind of words and will, tell you not to swear or something.
Yeah, so how many people here have tried to mess with Sue Ellen in the beginning?
Never fondled the horse.
Well, that's why it was unusual.
Maybe fondles for the Sue. And I shouldn't say that. Never mind.
Did you guys know?
Bad, Curtis.
To change the subject, did you know that the Matrix program was also made for the CoCo 1 and 2?
Yeah, not by Sockmaster. It was made by
free.
somebody else, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, McDonald.
Yeah, Sheldon.
Sheldon. Yeah.
Yeah.
The CoCo is the original green screen, not the Matrix.
Yeah,
Right.
and Sockmaster did his CoCo 3 Matrix program. Well, it must be coming up in 2 decades ago, if not past that.
And there's a hot cocoa right next to the machine. I just thought I'd say that. This gizmo here, I got at Goodwill for $12, and I use it on my my PC. So when I do the emulator, I can play William Tell on it. But this thing sounds great for $12. It's it's normally like 79 or something. It's it also has Bluetooth on it and FM. You can put an antenna on the back.
So you're cranking your Orchestra 90 through a Rainbow speaker machine?
Yep, and it has different programs that gives a little light show if your room's dark. So it's pretty cool. So that's an acquisition, and it's a thin line to a CoCo reference.
Well, it plugs into a CoCo, so it's good enough.
Yeah. And I took this picture a while back with a little camera I stuck in the side vent, and I pushed it around and took a bunch of different pictures from video.
Oh, cool.
And I thought, yeah, that's it. Somebody said it looked like a bunch of a morgue, people waiting to be buried.
That's remarkably clear for doing it inside the machine that close.
Yeah,
That is, yeah.
because it's close up. Look at the those are isn't that the
I think those are
stuff that
Diodes.
makes
Diodes.
Yeah, diodes. That's the word. Yeah, so it was interesting. I had a couple other pictures that I used to, back in the day when we had CoCo. What was the other show that we had? I can't even remember the name of it. CoCo.
Yeah, the podcast you mean, or
yeah,
CoCo Crew?
CoCo Chat?
No, the one that we came from.
Oh,
CoCo Talk.
Yeah, I remember CoCo Talk. Yeah, I used to have the machine say, say something through the sound and speech pack about this, and I never broadcast it. Anyway, this is a demo that I ran across called Get Smart, and I thought, how is this a demo? And then I thought, oh yeah, it's the artwork. You just if you type run Get Smart, this comes up.
Is that Agent 99?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
On the
hot.
building.
Yeah, it's not bad. This is back in the day, so yeah, I
Amy
did pretty
Crystal,
good.
yes, that's 99.
Yep. And then that's about it, guys.
So I have a question for you, Ron.
Yeah.
So since you live in the part of the countries where cars can spontaneously melt,
Yeah.
have you had any issues with ambient temperature on the CoCos, getting them soft or starting to melt in your
No.
garage?
Nope. Garage runs 101. When it's 114 out. And in my observatory, that doesn't have any air conditioning or anything either, and that runs about the same 101, 102. And I do have a few machines set up there, and they don't turn color or anything, because there's no light in there.
They don't droop?
Nope, nothing.
No, ABS is
Nope.
good over a couple hundred degrees.
You know how you see some of the cars and it says in Arizona, this car, it's like an ice
Left out
cream
too
machine
long.
car, and it's melted into the pavement.
Pavement
Okay,
melt.
just kind of wondering.
Nope,
Yeah,
it's all good.
vinyl's pretty low, but ABS doesn't melt till, 290 to melt it good. So you figure 200, it isn't even starting to sag yet.
Yeah, you're pretty well at the boiling point of water for that
Yeah.
to start happening.
Okay.
That's 100 degrees Celsius for us sane people that use metric.
Right, that use normal numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Ron.
Yep,
thanks.
sure. Yep.
All right. Commercial break and then game on.
Sure.
Is that a question or a statement?
That was a question.
Kind of a question, unless you have
I'd say
better
it's a
ideas.
statement.
He's
I'd
waiting
say
for
it's a
disagreement.
That's right.
It's a statement and sorry, a statement unless
You
somebody
hear the
disagrees.
feet running down the hall?
Wrong button. Here we go. Over here.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCo Nation Show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello, everyone. It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCo Nation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCo Nation Show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gare, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Glenn Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, John Bodovkarshaller, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Mike Rayburn, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, Terry Steege, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., Tony C., and William A. Thing. Thank you so much, patrons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Net Nomad says, hello. I'm Net Nomad, real name Jim. I got into retro computing via the MSX line of computers, but as an American always wanted to also get something like a Tandy, and now I've finally got an MC10 coming in the mail. I love messing with BASIC and also write chiptune. I found this server on Google but probably saw mention of it elsewhere too. I joined mostly just to keep up with the heartbeat of the Tandy scene because I'm not on Facebook or anything and will also probably have a few stupid questions to ask. FSCKU says, old freak, got a CoCo 2, Model 4P, 6000 HD and a 1000. Silent Bob. Annie says, hi, I'm Annie, Low Level's wife. I asked to know more about his retro game stuff so I can do some retro game casting and playing if said games for my Twitch and YouTube gaming channels. I'm curious and scared all at the same time. Thanks. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Alex Gayer, Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCo Nation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
And today we have neither Sloopy nor Ken. Meanwhile, we have Jim Rye to present the Game On results.
Hard to string host. We're here. Okay, so this week's game was Folly Farm's Chicken Run. And it has some very unflattering artwork, I think. This was the cover of the cassette.
Was that cleaned up some too, maybe?
Possibly.
This was a dragon game, so it only ran on like XROR if you were emulating. So, yep, and it had a pretty cool, I thought, semi-graphics title screen. I guess it's the ImpSoft logo. So here are this week's scores. Run. So this week we had 7 egg layers playing with us. And that was the most flattering thing I could think of to call us.
Yeah.
Number 7 was Exile in Paradise with 3,000 points. Number 6 was Allison with 7,900 points.
We're not seeing your stream if you're, we just have
you're
the picture.
Oh, what's going on? Hang on.
We just see the ImpSoft.
Yeah.
Oh, let me. I got it on the screen.
Probably got to switch which screen you're sharing.
Yeah, you're sharing the graphic right now.
Can you see it now? No, still.
Nope.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, hang on. I didn't think I was. I thought I was sharing the screen, not just the graphic. That back up.
Window.
Switch off that Commodore.
Yeah. If you stop the stream and then just reshare with the proper window, that should solve it.
Okay. Share screen one.
I didn't realize XROR did the Commodore. Way to go, 60.
There we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
So we'll take this from the top. We had 7 egg layers, and number 7 was Exile in Paradise, 3,000 points. Number 6 was Allison, 7,900 points. Number 5 was Sabhead, 9,800 points. And number 4 was our own Sloopy Malibu with 12,700 points. Number 3 was Buck Owens with 36,100 points. Number 2 was me with 36,200 points.
Ooh, you beat Buck by 100 points.
I did. And the number 1 egg
There's
layer
Scott.
this week is Tasman, Scott Cooper, 40,700. And we have an honorable mention because Buck Owens came in late with 45,100. He would have been the winner if he were just an hour earlier. Thanks for playing. Okay, and we have some game footage here, if I can get it to come up. So, just a second. So you guys aren't seeing my browser YouTube now?
Yep,
Yeah, we're
we
seeing
are.
you.
Yep.
Oh, you are? Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, because now you're sharing the
Okay.
screen rather than a window. So
Oh, I see. I thought I could have sworn I shared the screen the first time, but anyway, here's some gameplay from Buck Owens. And
Those are good looking chickens.
and this was an interesting game. I found it a lot more fun than I thought I would because, you know, how fun can a game about a chicken be? But the strategy here is you have to lay as many eggs as you can because those are worth the most points. So, and the first time I played this, I was under the impression that you had to eat the seed before you could lay an egg, and then you had to run back and forth, but that's not the case. You can lay as many eggs as you can, but you have to understand what's going to happen to them.
what are you playing? Like what character are you in this game? I didn't get a chance to play it. So are you the person running around?
You're the hen running around there laying eggs. So
Oh,
okay. So what's that human person? Is that an enemy?
That's Farmer Folly, and he is going around picking up your eggs. But you have to select what row for him to look in. So there's a lot going on. You have to really track. See, he just picked up the egg. He's going to run and drop it down the bin there on the other side. But he also is there to refill your seeds. So you have to wait for him to come back around and select the seed bin, which Buck just did there. You can see at the bottom. So he's got to go all the way down. So you don't want to. And the seed is actually replenishing your time. This is a complicated game. So when
you got a
eat
fox
the
running
seed,
around that's eating both the eggs and the chickens, it looks like.
The fox will eat the chicks. If the eggs sit too long, they'll hatch into chicks, and those chicks will eat your seed. So sometimes the fox is your friend. If he goes and kills one of these chicks, then that chick's not going to eat your seed. And he'll also get the eggs. But if he catches you, you're dead. So, and you can see his eyes for a second before he comes out of the little hole there. So it's a pretty complex game. You have to kind of keep your eye on a lot of different things. You know, with all this going on, you have to watch your time down at the bottom. If you start to run out of time, you got to go get some seed. And
it definitely looks like an original game. I'll have to give this a shot. I've never actually seen or tried it before you guys announced it as the Game On Challenge.
It is very original. I don't think I've played anything like it.
Is that because it's Dragon?
That's probably it. Yeah, and that's probably why we only had 7 participants. So, but it was a lot of fun. I really, I'll probably play this a little bit in the future.
This almost brings up a new category of game. The English required to describe the gameplay is as long as the code.
Yeah, really? That was a good 2 pages of dialogue there to explain the game.
Right. When you start the game, you go through screen after screen after screen of it trying to convey what you need to do. And then you forget all of it the minute everything starts up because it's so frantic.
Yeah. And the music's so irritating, you can't really read it that well anyway. Because the music repeats on every single page of the instructions.
Got a comment from Buck Owens in the chat here. He said, yeah, this is a really neat game. Thumbs up to the selection crew. So, yeah, I like seeing brand new original games I've never seen before on the CoCo or the Dragon, for that matter.
All right.
Now, this one here, from what I understood, I only got to catch little wisps of the live show. This game, somebody was trying to patch around the CoCo, but they hit some snag or something?
Well, I heard something like that, but I never heard the complete story.
Yeah, I heard something about ROM calls, and I unfortunately wasn't able to follow up.
Mike Miller was patching it to try to fix the keyboard and ran into something about it having a chunk of Dragon Basic code embedded somewhere in it.
Oh.
That was where he stopped.
This will take some work to get it to work on a CoCo, by the sounds of it.
You almost have to rebuild the whole thing.
Now, mind you, Dragon Basic is not that different from ours. And we've got Source for both of them. Now we got the Spectral Associates version for the CoCo, and we've got that just released official Microsoft one they scanned in on the Dragons. We should be able to figure it out. And by we mean somebody else who has time.
Right. Took that missing Dragon Basic code someplace on the CoCo and just change our jump to go there.
Yeah.
One good strategy here is to keep the seed in one on one level. That way the little chicks, they can change levels, but they don't do it very often. So when you have the farmer refill your seed, always choose the same one, and then just lay as many eggs as you possibly can because they're worth 500 points each.
Yeah, I got
It
a
doesn't
comment
matter.
from Scott Cooper in the chat here too. He says, I found out that the farmer can carry seed and an egg at the same time. The seed needs to be picked up first.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay. That's another good strategy then. No wonder he scores so high. Okay. Did anybody have any more comments about that, or you want to move on to the next week's game?
Can't really comment on until I get a chance to try it. So.
Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. Although you might end up wanting to do it with the sound off.
So this game does not drag on, even though it's a drag gun game.
Oh, you're just full of dad jokes today, Ron.
Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't drag on. It's actually, it moves at a good pace, and it's you have to keep an eye on a lot of different things to make sure it keeps going. Because the fox will get you if you don't pay attention to where the eyeballs are popping out at you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check this out when I get some time here, and then get an entry for it on the website, and then see if some of us can patch it to run like CoCo too.
Jim, do you have a dragon?
No, I don't. I was running it on XROAR. It runs fine. It loads. I've never used XROAR to load a tape before, so that took a little getting used to. But once I got that down, it worked pretty good. It's like Buck's finished here.
Got a couple more comments in the chat here. Karen is saying, was it calling out to the parser or something to run through tokenized bits of BASIC? Might just need to translate the tokens. Whoever was doing or trying to fix it there should probably answer that question because I don't have a clue. And then Buck says, yeah, I think the farmer will grab everything on the way up as long as you have that level selected. The level selection is kind of sketchy sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's sometimes you press the button and it doesn't respond, and then you press it again and it'll skip 2. It is pretty screwy. But I thought maybe that was just down to me using my
Oh, yeah, I had another comment too from Buck here. And if you let the farmer go all the way to the bottom of the ladder, then select the feed level, you will get 100 points.
Oh, okay. Another tip there. Okay. All right. So are you seeing the ImpSoft logo again?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, good. I'll through this. The Buck also posted an ad for the original tape, and it runs 50 pounds, which is about $63 today.
Holy cow.
So if you're interested in a copy with that cover.
I'd have trouble lifting 50 pounds.
Okay. And then for next week's game, since Sloopy isn't here today, I chose one of his favorite genres, which is the upward shooter.
Oh, we should probably see what the second game is that's continuing on too.
Oh, I don't have anything to show that with, I don't think, but it's Hopman. I don't know if.
Yeah, Infinito. Did anybody get the disc version of that going, or are they just using raw mail, or is everybody just using the cassette?
I just use the cassette.
Okay, I was wondering, like, for real hardware, because it's a CAS file, or is it a WAV file that they've got on the Infinito site?
There's both.
Oh, there is? Okay.
I was thinking maybe I have a graphic of it, but I don't. Yeah, we got it on Discord, so that's the title screen anyway for Hopman.
Yeah, that's CoCo 3 version, it looks like. There's MC10, CoCo 1, 2, and CoCo 3 versions for Hopman.
Oh yeah, it's one of those Inafudo games that goes across many platforms. Okay, as I was saying, I chose an upward shooter because it annoys Sloopy for this coming week. Does anyone recognize this one?
It's by an Aussie.
CoCo 3.
Yeah.
Was it by an Aussie?
It's by Mr. Stewart. And it was actually one of the ones that Tandy ended up selling, kind of like with Nick, because Craig had the same kind of deal. This actually beat out one of yours too, I think, wasn't it? That one year?
Well, it won a competition that Tandy had. What's it called again? I forgot the name. Marauder?
Space Marauder. Yeah.
That's it, Space Marauder. Yeah, it's
And
the one that
version
won the
1.0.
competition.
So there's probably a glitch in here for Tasman to find.
I think there's a 1.1 out there as well.
Oh, is there? This is the one
Where
that was on the
exactly is
archive.
the any key?
Anywhere you want it to be. And that's
it's basically it's got two different waves. For those who haven't played it before, it runs on a 128K CoCo 3. There are some keys that you can use during gameplay that if you just try to run this without the manual, you won't guess. Like you can change firing, how many guns you're firing from and stuff. So the manual is on the archive. I would definitely take a quick read through. It's not very big, but you'll get some extra things that will help gameplay.
Well, I know what I'm going to be doing next Thursday.
Playing Space Marauder?
Doing a dramatic reading.
Oh, are there instructions for this somewhere? It's not too hard.
No, like I say, there's some instructions that you may not guess at that will help play the game. There's a certain key to turn on the side lasers, for example.
Oh, I see. Okay. Cool.
So you definitely want to grab the manual because it's a scan of the one that was sold in Australia that Craig did himself, and it's up on the site. I don't know, Computer Archive. Also, I should mention there were several versions of this floating around by version number. So pick the latest one, and because I think that was the one that was the most bug free, and I'm trying to remember what version that is.
Is there a 1.1 or a 1.2?
There's three versions I know of: 1.0, 1.1, and 2. I think. I'm just going to check.
Yeah,
2.0 is the latest. It was 1.0, 1.1, and 0.1, 1.0, and 2.0.
Oh, okay. Cool. Maybe we can get a copy of 2.0 somewhere.
Should be in the archive. If it's not, let me know because I do have a 2.0 kicking around here somewhere. I've actually got screenshots of it on my site.
Oh, okay. This is the one I grabbed off the archive. Maybe it's
the middle version. So yeah, I'll have to find the 2.0. I'm
Cool,
trying to remember, did I have
good.
to patch this for real hardware too? Because I think it kicks in under PAL 50 hertz, if I remember. And I patched my version to just kick into NTSC.
Most probably does.
So if you try running it and it starts scrolling your screen up, like the vertical holds off, then that means it's the PAL version.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Now the emulators will work fine because they just they don't kind of ignore that part, but
yeah, they just
on real hardware it will start rolling your CM8.
Oh, it's always something, huh? Okay, that's about all I had. So enjoy.
Cool.
Good game.
That's a good game. It's got a lot of fast action. There's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. There's tons of particles from explosions, scrolling star fields. You got asteroids and the Marauder itself, and you rejuice up your power by hitting those blue comet-like things. The asteroids and stuff, you have to hit dead center for them to explode. Otherwise, it just radiates sparks and doesn't actually blow up. So you got to be pretty good with your aiming. It's a fun game.
You only get one ship, so once your shields are gone, you're straddle up.
Yep. What was your opinion of this one, Nick? Considering you were kind of like that was your main competition in Australia at the time.
Yeah, no, it's a good game. It's very well done. It's one of the very first shoot 'em ups for the CoCo 3 that utilized the CoCo 3 when it first came out.
Yeah, because this game came out in 88 or 87?
87 or 88, yeah.
87. I just found the
87, yeah.
Some guy's site has a bunch of history on here, so yeah.
Yeah, I usually ignore that one.
Yeah, Australian CoCo Magazine game writing contest in 1987, and he was the one that won, and he won the previous year with Pursuit, which was right after the CoCo 3 came out. He wrote a CoCo 3 game.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready for the Game On news?
Sure. Okay.
Take it away, Curtis.
So before I start sharing screens and going through the regular stories here, we've got kind of a pre-announcement from Nick Marentes on his current game project. It's not the one Ken and I want to see him working on, but I have to say he's been doing a really good job. He's beginning to change my mind about this game, and I think the official release might fully change my mind. So you've actually gotten it pretty close to final release. You posted a teaser graphic on Facebook for people to take a look at.
Yeah,
there it is there.
Awesome.
So I just threw it up there. Apparently, Ron loves this.
Yeah, you did a great job.
What is it you like about it? The Einstein?
Well, yeah, the Einstein in front of the CoCo. I mean, that's
pretty
perfect.
cheeky, yeah.
Yeah, we had Asimov before. We never had Einstein before. So
No, there you go. Well, I like the fact that Einstein had his tongue poking out. I thought, and actually, there is a caption, text caption to go with this, and that'll be in the CD artwork that complements this. But I didn't put it on this. Leave it as a surprise. But basically, Neutroid is pretty well finished now. This last week, it's been undergoing game testing and game tweaking and all that. And I've got a few game testers looking at it. Curtis is one, although
I haven't had time.
busy
Sorry.
this week. But I decided, because one of the complaints with Neutroid has always been that it was too hard. So one thing I really did try to concentrate on this one is to, make it less hard. And I tried to balance the difficulty level on this game so that anyone someone who's not so good at, say, arcade games of this type still has a chance in the early stages, but the game still has to be challenging even for those like Buck Owens or Tasman. So I've recruited Buck Owens and Tasman to be the game testers, and they would set the upper limit level. There's 16 levels. Well, 16 levels officially. It does actually keep going after 16, but it just
16
keeps
levels
repeating.
of difficulty as you go, I guess. Would probably be the best way to
Yeah,
describe
so
it.
ideally I want it so that if you can get to level 16, it should be pretty hard. And that's the part I've been trying to tune with between Buck Owens and Tasman. So I think I've got it pretty well set now. A little bit more testing, just so that the game does progress or increment in difficulty in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah, because basically what you want to do is you want to cover the hardcore arcade players like Tasman and Buck, but you also want like Mark Bosley to be able to get past level 1. And if you can achieve both of those goals by ramping the difficulty to a certain level, you've pretty well nailed it.
Right.
Yeah, well, that is what I'm trying to do. The whole game is a lot more intuitive than what the original one was. I will have a web page that describes the evolution of Neutroid. So it covers the original TRS-80 Model 1 version, and then working its way through the two variants in the CoCo 2 up to this one. This one matches the original TRS-80 Model 1 version that I did, because the CoCo 1 did change a bit, and it changed not for the better. So I thought I'm going to fix that. I'm going to give the CoCo what it's due. So it's now been updated and improved, I think.
Yeah, you've added some gameplay elements, stuff that weren't in either of the originals.
Yeah, it's largely the same, but there's a few extra bits in there, and the sound effects are really good. So
Nick,
now, are you able to run? Like, I know you have a demo mode that actually has the sound effects. Are you able to run that?
I could just run it. It does play a demo, so I can leave it running a demo in the background.
Nick, are
Let me
those
see,
cheat
I'll-
codes between Einstein?
Official physics cheat codes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Only if you're converting matter to energy.
Yes, that's right. So hang on, let me just break out a. Oh, actually, well, that's playing a
You
demo
have to share your
right now.
sound, Nick.
Okay, I will say stop. And share sound. Okay. Now that's just playing a demo mode, I think. Or is it no, it's not. It will when I press. Just not used to emulators, am I? Actually, I did actually plug a joystick in while everyone was talking before, so I will actually play a game. So the first level is very easy. Basically, you control the you don't control the neutroid particle. You control the blue grid that the neutroid travels on. That's one thing that people didn't understand with neutroid, the previous versions.
Well, on the Model 1 they did because you had that visual guide, and that's what you've added back in.
That's right. You control the grid that the neutroid travels on. It deflects the direction of the neutroid. The neutroid always moves forward, and you can just change its direction. And the goal is to guide it to hit all the what I call the protroids, which are the green objects that will be circling on the outside part of this what I call again the nuclear chamber. So I'll just start the game and you'll see what I mean. Right, and I'll just hit pause. So that's the chamber. You can see the cyan or green, it has actually pulsed, moving round and round on the outside part of the inside of the chamber. They're going round and round. You control the white dot. That's the neutroid. Or sorry, you control the grid that
steers the white dot.
Steers the white dot. Now on the first level, that's all there is. There's nothing chasing you. It's very easy. So I'll just complete the first level. In the top left is top right. The magenta is the level indicator, and the white bar is your energy, the energy of the neutroid. You can't let that go dead. You can't let it just run out of energy, because then you get a meltdown. So here goes. I'll do the first level, and it's very easy to control. I'll explain that yellow thing later. So knock these out one by one. And the first level's very easy. Oops.
And basically, if you miss those rotating particles and you hit the edge, you lose a bit of your health.
You lose a bit of your energy on your neutroid. That's right.
Like that.
You can see it flashes yellow, yeah. And that. You can see the bar in the top. It's dropping down as I lose energy. That yellow flashing thing you see on the border, I won't hit it right now. That's what I call an antimatter fissure, like a crack on the chamber that releases antimatter. If I go into that antimatter thing, it charges up my antitroid, and it goes. Hang on, I'll just see if I can get this thing. Damn it! So you got to time yourself right.
We may see level 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. I've taken the cheat mode out actually, so I can't even. Okay, so the chamber 1 is complete. Now the second chamber, now you start seeing these things on hard to talk and play at the same time. I'm not Buck Owens. You have these red dots that will appear, and basically if they hit you, you lose energy. So you got to avoid them. I mean, if they hit you, it just takes out a bit of your energy, but you've got to keep an eye on your energy, of course, because then it melts down and it's game over. But if you hit one of those antimatter fissures that you see pop up every now and then, you have for a limited time the ability to go and diffuse those red objects, those antitroids. And in that mode, your antitroid goes really fast, and when you can hit a antitroid, then you collect its energy. So you gain energy and you gain points, of course. So I'll try and do that without hitting the wall as often. Like that.
As you eliminate the dots there, was it my perception or... Whoop. I'll wait here.
Hang on. Got it. So, and it goes fast, and after a while, you can get... Oh, hang on. Damn fast game. Oh, it slowed down. So it's gone back. Now, hang on. I've got to pause again. Now, it's like, think of it like Pac-Man. Basically, you are going around gobbling the dots, but and avoiding the ghost. But if you hit a power pill, then you can go and chase the ghost for a short amount of time. So if you think of the game like that, then it's easy to understand, because it's just like Pac-Man in that regard. It's basically a very twisted version of Pac-Man with an atomic theme. So you play the role of that guy Einstein that you saw in that artwork before. So I will try and go a little bit further. Now it gets harder over time. Those antitroids move faster. Hang on. I can't multi. I've got to
we need to install a nitrous 9 in your brain there, Nick. Then you could do it.
Uh-oh.
When you win the game, how long does it take for the $5,000 to get here?
Yeah. Well, it gets delivered by UPS, which means you probably never get it.
Yeah. It would cost more to ship the 5,000 than 5,000. Yeah. So
there we go. You get this one. You won't get that one. So it's a case of timing, getting yourself in the right position. You can afford a few hits, but you've got to keep an eye on your energy.
As you eliminate those dots, do you start to move a little faster?
You don't. I'll just pause. You don't. No. Well, in the original Neutroid, you did. In the original TOS 81, but it got hard very fast doing that. So in this version, I just kept it the same speed. It only goes fast when you get that antimatter thing. But with every level, the speed of the Protroids is going a little bit faster. So I've got the progression as you go through the levels. It is upping the difficulty of the game just that little bit, and you get more Protroids to chase as well. So I think I've got a pretty good balance on the game. Let me see if I can just... I missed the... I really can't multitask.
Yeah, because I could see it having to progressively get a little faster. That you start to get that muscle memory of when to go, and if you start moving a little faster, you have to keep adjusting your timing a little bit. So.
Oh damn! I missed it. Yeah, and the timing does change over time as the the speed of the Protroids, that changes the timing. So you've got to adapt to the different speeds all the time. All right, one left. But before I get that, I'll try get one more. So you can try to milk it for points.
There it is.
There it is on the left. So you just run into it and clobber it like that. And if you wait long enough, you might get another one. Got it. Ouch. Okay, let's finish it off.
I'll do that a few thousand times.
There we go. And I won't go any further than that, but I'll just pause it at level 3. Now, you will get more Protroids. They will increase in speed. The intelligence or the AI of those red objects does increase over time, so they come at you more. So it gets harder that way.
When you hit one of the dots, you get credit for that. The dots, but if you bounce off the wall and hit the dot,
no. If you hit the wall, you lose energy. If you hit a Protroid, you gain it. You gain energy.
But I'm pretty sure I saw you once hit the wall to lose, but then hit the dot to gain on the rebound.
To gain, that's right. Yep. So hit the dot, hit the green dots, you gain. But if you miss and hit the wall, you lose. So you've got to try not
And
to
then
hit
with the red one, which is called what again? What's the red one?
The anti-troids.
Yeah, that one. If you hit it, if you haven't gotten that yellow bar first, then you lose energy. And if you hit it,
you lose
then you
more actually. Yeah, you lose more if you get hit by a red dot, but you also gain more if you can you get it when your neutroid is charged up. Yeah. So it gets pretty fast and hectic. It's
but your beta testers have been commenting a bit about it in the chat here. So.
Oh yeah. What are they saying? Crappy game.
Well, Buck was just saying, yeah, you gain energy with successful smashes. Scott says the sound effects of this game are really good. I agree.
Yeah, actually, and if you wait long, and I'll let the energy drop down on the I'll let the energy I'll just hit the wall a few times and let the energy go down low. If I can just get the joystick, maybe I can just accelerate it by doing. While I'm here, I can't help myself.
So if you play this when you're hot and you're sweating a little bit, the electrodes will get you.
Well, yeah.
When did you originally release it?
Originally 1984. Okay. Now the energy is just about to go down to a certain point, and then you get an alarm. Is that coming through?
Yeah, it said warning.
That's it. So it's got a voice in the background that calls out warning when your energy is fairly low.
I like that.
Yeah. And of course, if you lose all your energy like this, get a meltdown. So yeah, that's what you've got to avoid. So you only ever have one life, you could say. But every level you get fully charged again.
Yeah,
So
you kind of have a
start-
health meter rather than number of men.
Yeah, yeah. It's got sound on the editing. See? And there you go. And that's Neutroid coming soon.
It's really good.
So was,
Now,
was this the game you originally had sold?
Yes.
Or,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. So I wrote this on the TRS-80 Model 1 back when, well, my first computer was a TRS-80 Model 1 way back in 1980. And the second full machine language commercial game that I did in Z80 code was Neutroid. So it goes way back. This game is an idea I had. Well, back then, there were a few games coming out in the arcades and even on the CoCo that had this whole nuclear atomic type theme to it.
Yeah, like
So
Reactoid
that's
from Tandy is one.
Reactoid from Tandy. And there was
Tube Frenzy by
arcade game.
Aardvark / Dave Edson.
Yeah, so that was the thing that was that inspired me to do Neutroid. And I did Neutroid on the Model 1. I did sell. I mean, I was in high school back then, so
Do you have a video of the Model 1's version?
Yeah, actually.
Buck does too. He played it earlier this week.
Yeah, I'll just close that, and if you want to wait a second, have you
Sure.
got time? I don't want to drag this on too long. I'd have to.
You got to milk it for all it's worth, Nick.
Well, I wasn't. I will be putting together a short video promoting it properly. Wait, like.
Now, are you planning on tying this in with Septandy since it's so close too, or is that going to be like your Septandy product, even though it might get released a little bit earlier?
I never really thought of that.
I'd milk that too, honestly.
Hang on, my Discord's not coming up. I may have to not. We might have to abort. Oh, hang on. Now it's saying something's happening.
So we're going to have a Septandy Neutroid apology tour. Is that what? That is?
Apology tour.
Sorry, it took me 4 times to make it right.
That's right. It took a while, but I got there. Okay. Well, it's running on my machine now. I've got to share it. So sharing sound. Now this is by the great Buck Owens. So is that coming through now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sounds muted on there. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how loud the sound is, but on the TRS-80 Model 1, you can see it actually accelerated as you were playing, and that got really hard at that point. It starts slow.
There wasn't sound on a Model 1, was there?
Yeah, 1-bit sound. It's even got a background rhythm to it as well. That was another major milestone I did for it back then, which I found annoying, mind you, which is why I didn't put it into Neutroid, this Neutroid.
It's
I'm trying to remember the Model 1, the sound came out the cassette port, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
and for those watching the stream here, you'll see this like flickering in the background. That was actually what is the sync issue?
That's a Model 1, yeah. The Model 1 did that flicker normally. You can see all the static lines and all that.
Yeah, the Model 3 fixed most of that, though, from my understanding.
The Model 3 and the Model 4 did improve on that, but this is
but doesn't that give you more effects?
Not on purpose.
Well, it's not on purpose. No, yeah, it's an undesirable effect. But anyway.
Yeah, Buck says, yeah, Model 1. I switched to 3 later because I think it got annoying to him too.
Yeah, no, it's annoying, and I always found the music to be annoying as well. You know, it kept breaking my concentration. But anyway, so that's the Model 1 version, and it's modeled closely to the Model 1 version. The original vision.
Yeah, the biggest change visually is that you actually show the steering of the maze on the Model 1. And you took that out on the CoCo up until this latest version, which really helps people figure out what you're doing in the game. And that's a huge improvement.
Yeah, and it's a bit easier even on the CoCo version. With the old Model 1 version, if your Protroid was moving in a certain direction and you deflected it, the moment it deflects, you had to let go of that deflection, that key. It was keyboard driven back then. Otherwise, your Neutroid will go into an incorrect deflection and it blows up. On the CoCo, it automatically turns off that deflection. So in other words, if it's traveling to the right, I just have to move up or down to deflect it. but as soon as it deflects, it turns off the deflection and it won't accept another one unless it's a left and right again. You know what I mean? It always forces a 90-degree turn, and it does that for you. The player doesn't have to worry about that anymore. That was annoying for a lot of people before, getting that timing right. They kept blowing up just by not turning off the deflection. So I thought, okay, well, we've got to get rid of that. Basically, with this one, you don't have to really concentrate on the deflection at all. It gives you the effect. You see the deflection in the background on the grid changing, but you don't have to actually concentrate on that. The computer's doing that for you.
Nick, did anybody ever copy this for another machine?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you?
I think
copy
Nick
it from
doing it
some
4
other one?
times on the CoCo already is probably enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I copied it. Well, that's right. I was the only one who copied it.
Well, I'm just asking because it's been a long time since, people have been doing Model 1 stuff.
Well, Model 1, well, everyone copies it now, I suppose, because you can download it for free. But back in the day, really, I only sold this. There was a tobacconist shop here, and the guy who ran the shop was a TRS-80 Model 3 enthusiast, and he had a TRS-80 Model 3, and he used to do assembly language in the store. Like he had the Model 3 in the middle of the store, so when he wasn't selling tobacco or whatever he was on the Model 3 doing Z80 code. And I met him, and he sold TRS-80 software, and he was selling my game on the wall. He would let me hang up my a zippy bag with the photocopied instructions and a cassette tape in there.
Cool.
And I did sell about I can't remember. I think it was about 10 copies or so. So I made about $100 on it, which is nothing fantastic, not enough to buy a Ferrari on, but hey,
Yeah, but you were in high school, so that wasn't bad little
I was
spending
in
money.
high school. Hey, that was free lunch money. So as for the CoCo version that did come out, I sold none. It just didn't, even though I advertised it, it didn't sell. It was
What year
just
was that?
The TRS-80 Model 1 version was 82. The color computer version was 84. But it was a very abstract idea. A lot of people didn't get it. Seeing a dot running around the screen, they didn't understand it.
Especially since you didn't have the steering block, so it really made it hard to figure out exactly what you're doing.
It didn't sell at all. So it was a flop, which has bugged me since that day, because I always did believe in the game idea, and that's why I've been coming back to it, trying to improve it, and this is the final improvement, I guess. I mean, it's not a overly complex game, but it was a simple idea which I was just determined to
Milk
get the
every
most
single thing out of it.
Milk it. That's right.
Do you still have your Model 1?
Yep, right next to me.
Yeah, you just wrote a game for it, actually, Gem Hunter, not too long ago, right?
Gem Hunter, yeah.
That was the next question.
Yeah, I did about, what is it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2022 or 2021.
Yeah, something like that.
Because you actually demoed it on Trash Talkers, and a few of them bought it. So
yeah, sold more of that than I sold of Neutroid. But so I had to delve into a bit of Z80 code. Oh, gee, never again.
Amen to that.
It wasn't too bad, but the 6809 is definitely a better CPU.
not going to get any argument out of me on that.
Undeniably.
And that's it. So it will be coming out soon. Like I said, it's pretty well finished. I'm getting all the artwork for the CD for those people who want a CD case, a boxed copy.
The collector's
but
copy.
I will have also just a download and it'll be just a cheaper price, of course, for the download, and that's coming soon.
I do have a question about programming. You know, when you make the code up and stuff for this, how often do you use the 16-bit part of the CoCo? You know, of the 6809 or the 60? Is this 6309?
No, 6809.
It's 609. The game. Yeah. Well, you always do, really. I mean, you've got 16-bit registers on a 6809. So you always use them.
So it's always being used.
Yeah, especially the index registers, the stack pointers, which are 16-bit. You're using those constantly.
Yeah.
So that's what makes the thing a little faster and a little more dynamic than some of the other chips around, huh?
Oh, well, the Z80 had 16-bit registers. It's the flexibility you had. You can do, you can sort of do more with the 6809, or not so much more, but it's easier to do on a 6809. It's more,
more uniform.
Yeah, it's a better designed instruction set.
Yeah, the Z80/Z80 is like the 8088 type thing, like the ones that the original IBM PCs used, where certain registers, you could only use that register to do a certain function. You couldn't use any of the other ones, even if they are the same size.
You could have a 16-bit register, but you could not do certain things with it. You had to move the data into another register that could do it, and then do it in that.
And then move it back, the result.
Yeah, whereas on the 6809, you don't have that. You know, you could pretty well do everything with almost any register.
Yeah,
so you
like X and Y are pretty well interchangeable. I mean, Y is a little bit slower because it's got a pre-byte.
You didn't have to say
all the instructions work.
That's right. You didn't have to say, well, the data is here, but it needs to be there for me to do what I want to do. On the 6809, you don't have to worry about that. If you've got the data, just do it.
Yeah.
So,
well, the one exception is the accumulator does have some, like D has a few things that are unique that X and Y and U and S can't do, but it's a lot more uniform.
Of course, the 6309, you also have a 32-bit register. So there you go.
We'll be talking about that shortly in a little bit too.
Oh, okay.
And isn't it also true on like the Z80? The only thing you can do with RAM is put it in a register. You can't really just take a register and compare that to RAM. You got to move the RAM.
Yeah, I think there is something weird. Yeah,
and then compare the two registers, and then
So
it's an older design. I mean, the 689 was designed in like 78, 79, came out in 79, 80 type thing, and it's they learned a lot of things from all the previous processors, including Motorola's own 6800s, etc. So they also learned, like, you know, how compilers function, which is why they put two stacks in, the user stack and the hardware stack. So they did quite a few things designed based on what had come before from Intel, Zilog, MOS, Motorola themselves, etc. So that's one of the reasons it's such an advanced 8-bit.
And even further, they took all the 6800 code and analyzed what people were really doing with it and fed that analysis into what the 6809 should be able to do.
Yeah, and also to optimize certain instructions that they knew were going to get used a lot, so they optimized the pipeline so they ran faster.
Yep,
it's definitely a better designed instruction set. It's very well done. The one instruction that I did always like on the Z80 was the LDIR, which is the block copy command. That was great on the Z80. That's right. Which we don't have on a 6809, but we do on a 6309.
So, yeah, it's faster on the 6309.
And it's faster on the 6309. Yes. So we do get it, but not on the original 6809. That was
there you have to fiddle with
thing.
stack blasting to try to, you know, get the speed up.
That was the only thing I missed on the Z80.
And the multiply instruction.
Oh yeah, there is that too. We've also got division on a 6309. So,
but
does the Z80 have division or?
No, it doesn't have either of them.
Doesn't have multiply either. So if you want to move and calculate where something goes on the screen, add. So,
or shift, then an add or whatever. Yeah, the 6502 doesn't have that either.
No.
Cool.
No, the 6809 is good. So if you're going to do any 8-bit assembly language, do it on a CoCo.
Yeah. And the indexing modes on the 6809 and the 639 for that matter are quite heavily based, I think, on the PDP-11 architecture. And that was really nice to program for too. I actually did that before I learned assembly language on the 6809, and you can tell that they're definitely based on each other. There's so many common things between them and so many indexing modes. That's another nice thing about the 6809.
And don't forget the interrupt handling was also better on the 6809. And in the CoCo 3's case, because it has more interrupt
sources, from the gimme
functionality in the gimme chip, it goes hand in hand with the 6809. It's really good.
Yep. The only thing that would have proved it better was that they did something like the IBM PC did, where they have an actual IRQ controller, where you can set up like IRQs for like 150 different hardware pieces if you wanted to, and it returns a number.
Yeah, that's right.
Saying, device 42 is what triggered the interrupt. You don't have to pull through to figure out which one did it. The gimme has that a bit because you can identify just by reading some bits, that was the timer, that was the H sync, type thing. But it wasn't as extensive as the PC one. But that was an extra chip.
I think Motorola has an interrupt control.
They do for the gimmicks and stuff, yeah.
But they just put a very cut down version of it in the gimme.
Yeah, and none at all in the CoCo 1 and 2. Basically, you had to but you had to read the PIAs to figure out, which one triggered the interrupt and what function was it currently trying to send an interrupt on.
So, Nick, are you going to thank me for prolonging your spot on here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I think people are getting sick of Neutroid by now. So.
Oh, that happened a long time ago, Nick. Way before this show.
You've done a good job on this one for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a huge improvement. I mean, I've been kidding about it for months here because I really want him to work in this other game because it's not one we have on the CoCo 3. So, but this has been such a great improvement on it. Improvement on game playability, sound effects, adding some new features, etc. It's almost a new game in some ways. Not completely. It's basically the same game, but there's enough extra there that it feels like a new game.
Colorful and great sound.
Well, that's right. Bringing the color back to the color computer.
Yeah. I want to see everybody here when it does go on sale and you guys inevitably buy it, is that I'd like to see a lot of video gameplay of it for Septandy. Just load it up so everybody learns about it on other platforms.
Well, that was nice to say.
Well, we'll help Nick milk it. That's what I'm saying.
I need a Ferrari, another Ferrari. There's still room in the shoebox.
Maybe you need a Lamborghini this time.
Yeah, right.
That's Mopar based.
But the thing is, the whole goal of Neutroid, even back in the day, was to have a game that looks and sounds very dynamic for the hardware. Like even on the TRS-80, it had lots of sound, it had lots of graphics and all that. And when I did the CoCo version, that was also one of the goals. Lots of color, lots of sound, which it did do back then. So,
but
I've
even more so now.
That. I've carried that through even to this one. So now I've got even better sound, and still 8-color graphics. But the point is, it looks, compared to most other CoCo 1 and 2 games anyway, it shows color and sound like most games don't show.
Yeah, and for those that have been listening on the audio podcast, I'll mention that the game requires a 64K CoCo 1 or 2 or a Dragon.
64K this time. The original only needed 16. 64 because the samples alone take up.
Yeah, the sound effects and
32K
actually
of RAM.
speech. You've added speech to it too. That's another thing you've added.
There's speech in there. Yeah, really cool speech too. I like that robotic warning.
Yeah.
Actually,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, while you're playing, when you're hearing that warning sound in the background, when your energy is low, it really gets the heart pumping. You know that I've got to quickly try get some energy from somewhere. It really it's almost like having a heartbeat playing in the background.
Yeah, it's kind of
Your
like
own heartbeat.
Daggerath when you start hearing the monsters getting louder. That type of
That's
tension.
right. As you're dying, your heartbeat's getting faster on the game, and that seems to make your own heartbeat accelerate as well.
Whereas before I had that trying to figure out how to play the stupid game. So that's a big improvement that it's actually caused by tension of the game now. Anyway, so it'll be coming out very soon. 64K required, CoCo 1, 2, or 3, or Dragon 30, or Dragon 64, I guess, or Dragon 32 modified for 64K. Keep an eye out for it. He'll be announcing it on Facebook, I'm sure. Hopefully we'll get it announced on here. I do want to see some people throwing up some videos for Septandy, just to show some of the other platforms and the other Tandy platforms for that matter. There's still a lot of stuff coming out for the CoCo. And we'll be covering some other stuff, other games working on. What was that?
Hey?
$63.09.
No. So he's got a couple of different price tiers. Like if you want the physical CD collector's box, or if you want just the digital download, there'll be a couple of options. So
if you want the box with the picture of Einstein on there, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Nick. Looking forward to the official release. I will try to get some beta testing done in this next week if work lets up. I'm actually working this weekend again, so probably won't be having this weekend. And of course, you've got the expert game players, Tasman and Buck Owens, going through it too. So, and maybe we should include Mark Mosley since we want to test the lower skilled players. Is that a polite way of saying it?
Oh,
lower skilled,
and make sure that it's easy enough at the start so that he doesn't get frustrated and not want to play the game.
He's trying to wake up Mark Mosley.
Yeah, I was just making sure he was still around.
Yep, still around.
But yeah, the one thing, like you said, like the Model 1, if you watch the video we showed from Buck Owens before, it ramps up the difficulty very quickly. So it would be frustrating for a beginner player, and that's been improved.
Even on the first level, it gets frustrating. So I thought, don't want that.
Yeah.
Mind you, back in the day,
go ahead.
Back in the day when I was younger and I actually had reflexes, for me it didn't seem that hard. But looking at it today, I'm thinking, geez, why did I do a game so hard? No wonder it failed.
At least you didn't live in England because you made it 3 or 4 times harder, just period, because that's just the way they wrote games.
Yeah, I probably would have sold more copies then.
Yeah, you might have actually. They're going, this thing's too easy.
As this developer, you've worked through the 700 tutorial levels that were required to create the game. And no one else has seen those. Right? So
yeah.
Anyway, I am actually truly looking forward to it, as much joking as I've done about it the last couple months.
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
Oh, really? Well, then forget it then. That's a quote from Hitchhikers. Okay, so look forward to that. It'll be out probably the next couple of weeks, I'm guessing. And like I said, I would like to see some people put up some video of gameplay on for Tandy, just to kind of help, brand it around for the other people in the Tandy community and people interested in the Tandy community may have not even known, CoCo has new games because it's still coming out. So, and we've had people join the show because of Tandy type thing. So with that, we will go on to the regular gaming news instead of
the real news.
The Nick Marenti's special. Okay, so this has not happened yet. We talked about this a little bit last week, but I just wanted a reminder. The YouTube channel Brown Robin Bird is planning a live stream at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time on August 22nd to play Sockmaster's Donkey Kong Remixed under VCC. So that's coming up this next week, I guess. And I will mention, we were talking about 639 before. This is one that actually has native mode enabled. If you have a 639, it'll smooth out the sound and smooth out the graphics a little bit. And it is more optimized even on the 6809 than the original Donkey Kong port that Sockmaster did. So it actually plays smoother, irregardless of what CPU you've got in your CoCo. And it's also viciously hard. So it's kind of going exactly against what Nick just talked about making it easier for beginners. This game is specifically for Donkey Kong nuts who, just are too unchallenged by regular Donkey Kong. So anyway, 22nd on YouTube. And if you need the URL for that particular page, you can grab it from the show notes on Discord. Next up, chronologically gaming. Covered a couple of CoCo games this past week. I'm not going to play videos for all of them, but I will go through and mention them. So the first one here, it was closing out May of 1982. And it's a little bit fuzzy here, but you can see an ad for Aardvark. And the game that he covered there was Venturer, which is a clone of the arcade game Venture, written by Dave Edson when he was high school. So he actually quite liked it because I didn't realize this. This actually came out before the ColecoVision version did. So this is actually, I think, the first home port of Venture done on any of the 8-bit micros. So that was kind of cool. I didn't realize that. And it's actually not a bad little game. It plays well. It doesn't have a lot of great sound or anything like that. Dave never did quite figure out how to do sound, and he's admitted as such. But the gameplay was there, so it's a good one. Then he started on to the next month, June of 1982. And June, July is when I started seeing some CoCo games that really started to tickle my fancy that were not from Radio Shack. Because basically the third-party companies were just starting to learn how to do stuff on the CoCo properly. So the first one I got covered here, and I've currently got the VIC-20 version because Prickly Pear Software actually made versions for multiple computers and continue to do that through their existence. So the game Viking, I don't know if you guys have played it. It's one of those manage a kingdom and, manage your, grain and feeding your people and taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's a nice little simulation, but it's kind of fun. This picture you're seeing on the screen right now is the VIC-20 version of it, kind of showing a little bit of it. And then he goes into the CoCo version, which is obviously using the low-res graphics on the CoCo. There's the ad for it in May 1982 Rainbow. New this month coming out. And they had a few games out there, but that was one of the ones.
Players, that'd be even more fun. And then we also have another one by Anteco Software, which Viking is a brief graphic at the top right side, if you can see that there.
Now, this is rather interesting because Anteco or whatever, they were a cartridge manufacturer. They had some of their own games that they put out on their own, but they also repackaged games with new artwork and stuff from some of the other companies. You'll see some Tom Mix stuff. You'll see some Prickly Pear stuff, which is kind of interesting because that's the only company I really know that did that, really. I mean, there's some other ones that resold stuff, like, Computer Shack sold a lot of stuff from other third-party companies, but they just basically bought the existing stuff, and here you go, buy it off the shelf type thing. Antico actually kind of repackaged everything and more professionally, too. Unfortunately, they didn't last that long, but it was an interesting take to do that. And they also manufactured their own cartridges. They actually sold the cartridge plastic cases, injection molded at the time. I can't remember, Nick, do you have one of those? Was it an Antico?
I did have one somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, because they were one of the few that actually sold it. So, yeah, you could actually create your own cartridges if you wanted to sell them yourself. I mean, nowadays we just do it 3D printing, but they actually paid for the injection molding, and they actually attended stuff like Comdex to show the stuff off. One of the very few CoCo companies that actually did that, because Comdex was not cheap to attend. But for those you want to see what it looks like, he goes through the manual a bit there. But basically, it gives you these keys, and it's just, quick key driven. Like some of these simulations like this back in the day, you had to type in a whole bunch of crap, and here it's basically hotkey everything almost. And then it even gives you little maps of, how you're doing. I don't know if I can find one off the top of my head here.
Very nice. And then, of course, if we want to buy or sell more grain, you can make the decision.
Yep.
That'll be good. Let's continue.
So it actually gave you these little maps here. So the blue line is how big your kingdom is. And if I remember, it expanded in one direction first, then the other. And then you can see the top little a description of what the different shapes and colors are. So you get marketplaces and boats, so you can go fishing, and armories. And if I remember correctly, later on, if you're playing this multiplayer, because it will accept 1 to 4 players, you can actually attack each other later on in the game. And that's the part I liked about it. You get a real person multiplayer game. You actually start attacking each other once you get leveled up enough to do so. And you can actually kill the other players and get them out of the game. So that was one of the ones he covered for the beginning of June. And they covered War Kings by Tom Mix. I don't know if I'll play too much of that one. It's basically Warlords for 2 players. If you guys are familiar with that.
Here we go. We're back on the TRS-80 color computer. This is War Kings. Let's take a look.
And
at
this is one of Tom Mix's very first machine language games. Dancing Devil's kind of not a game. It's kind of a simulation. But there are other games like Moonlander and stuff were basically basic, or sometimes they'd have a little bit of ML subroutines. This was their first one by Charles Roseland. It was actually released as a machine language game, and you can see how much Atomics advanced, because by the end of 1982, they brought out Donkey King. So you can see how much they've progressed.
With the advertisement.
I'll just skip ahead a little bit here.
All right, this is by the TRS-80 CoCo, and their joystick make this work great. Feels really good for a ball and paddle game, and we've seen a few other ones like that. Get in there, get them.
So I'm sure you guys are familiar with Warlords, because the Atari 2600 and others had this. You basically got to break through like Bust Out, and then hit the king that's in the middle. Now, one unique thing about this version, you notice a little red shield that each of the two kings is holding up. That actually will deflect the ball. So if you hit that, the king doesn't get hit. It has to go around and hit him in the head or the foot, or bounce off the back wall or something like that. So there's a little bit of a saving grace. Like after the person breaks through your barriers, normally in the other games of this ilk, you would just die as soon as it got hit. But here you actually have a bit of a chance at random. You can't control the shield or anything, but you can actually defend yourself. And then when he gets into June, now this one here, he found conflicting information as to when Canyon Climber on the CoCo was released. I don't think it was released until 1983, if I remember correctly, because Tandy sat on it for quite a while. It's copyright 1982. But he decided to lump them together. So he has comparisons between the Apple II version, the Atari 8-bit version, and the CoCo version, and he's kind of favoring the CoCo version the most, especially the explosion. For those of you who have solved the first level, you have to set the dynamite charges. The whole screen shakes up and down. The Apple II version just puts some random static to kind of simulate that. But the gameplay is a little bit different. The Apple II and the Atari versions are more similar to each other than the CoCo version is. Like the placement of the dynamite charges is a bit different. They're evenly spaced on the CoCo. They kind of spread out as you're going up the levels on the other two versions here. So, I mean, it's a good game on all of them. It's an early platformer. It's kind of like loosely based on Donkey Kong from the arcade with, some minor changes and stuff. I'm not going to play the video because I'm sure everybody's seen Canyon Climber before. But if you want to check it out, he actually puts all three versions in a row, so you can actually compare what the 3 different 8-bits did with the exact same game from the exact same company. And it's one of the ones that's fairly close between them, but there's definitely some differences. Next up, Ken, I believe, is actually on the way back to Canada from his trip to Greece right now. Is he not, Jim? Do you know? Or
yeah, he should be
arriving. Yeah, I don't know.
Get back at the cabin tonight.
Okay, so he's coming back. So he actually had a few videos kind of queued up that he released as, while he was roasting in the sun in Greece. And this one here is another one comparing 2 different computer takes on a game. And this is the Seamus game, which was originally sold directly by Synapse Software for the CoCo. You'll see ads for it in like Color Computer News in 1983, et cetera. And then I think Tandy eventually got the rights to it and started selling it themselves in 84. And then, of course, Synapse kept selling it directly for other machines like the Apple and C64 and the Atari. So in this particular case here, he actually compares the C64 version of it to it. So I'll play a little bit where you can actually see a little bit of the comparison. Do a chunk in the middle here.
The Color Computer version was originally sold by Synapse Software, but later was licensed to Tandy to be sold through Tandy Radio Shack.
So one thing you'll notice right away here, looking at the video, is that the walls are animated on the C64, which actually Ken did not like. He found it too distracting. To me, it's neither here nor there. Some people like it, some people won't. To me, it doesn't really distract from the game much. There's obviously more color on the C64 version here. Now, I will mention that he did use an emulator that doesn't do full artifacting. It does just the base colors. So when you're looking at the CoCo version, you're just basically in the black, red, blue, white. If you actually play this on a real CoCo on an actual TV or a composite monitor, you will get yellows and all kinds of stuff. The patterns behind the walls are specifically set up to get you more artifact colors. So it actually does look more colorful than this. And the speed of the gameplay is actually a fair bit different depending on what part of the game you're in too. So he came out with basically, he thought the CoCo version was very slightly better. I think it's basically a tie. There's strengths and weaknesses on both, but they've kept the game very faithful between the platforms. Like some games, like I mentioned Canyon Climber before, they actually did move stuff around on the screen, so the screens aren't identical and the gameplay is a little bit different. There's other games like Eliminator from Adventure National, which is almost a completely different game depending on which platform you're on. This one here, all the mazes are the same. proportionality is pretty close, as much as you could in the screen, because obviously the 320 mode the C64 and some of the other machines had is a little bit wider. It's like the CoCo 3 than the standard 256 resolution we had in the CoCo 1 and 2. So there's a few minor differences there, but basically the game is very faithful between the platforms, and you wouldn't lose having either version or any of the other ones that he didn't even include in this video. So definitely go check that out, and then welcome him back from his trip. Next up, I'm going to play this one. And basically this is Paul Shoemaker is working on, and we kind of covered this a little bit before, doing a shmup, and it's called Shmup You Up, and it's based on a Pico 8 version of it as well.
I think your microphone's playing up, Curtis.
Oh, 6. Did you guys hear anything I just said, or is that?
It's very hollow.
Oh, okay. Is it still, or is it better now?
I think it's better now.
Yeah,
Okay.
better now.
I did the standard, hardware techie thing of unplugging it and plugging it back in again. So,
And you didn't lose any hair.
no soldering required. So anyway, what he's showing here is he's doing this little video here to kind of check the speed of the engine that he's got underneath while doing sound effects, explosion, particle effects, etc. And he's shows you the source code, and then he go change a couple of parameters. So it's like, how often does the firing happen? And when he goes really, really fast, it actually doesn't look like it's firing. It looks like you're just dragging a line of bullets around, because basically they're just overdrawing each other so fast that it doesn't really look animated per se. And then he's kind of slows it down a little bit later on. And I think that actually looks better in the game. I'll let you guys judge if that's the same conclusion you guys come to. But he's definitely got the speed going pretty good here, because he's firing a lot of shots. He's flying around. He's got sound effects going off in the background, and it doesn't seem to slow down. So I know Facebook, which is where this video is a little bit different on volume levels than YouTube. So let me know once you guys start hearing things, whether this is too loud or too quiet. This is one of the more slowed down ones, so you can kind of see the firing.
Almost sounds like one of Nick's sound effects.
I think this is the max speed one. But it looks like you're just literally dragging the bullets around, because it doesn't really have time to even refresh it.
That's a weapon. That's a weapon in itself.
Yeah, kind of. You can almost use it as an effect, as a bonus, you know,
Yeah.
power up on your weapon or something.
Yeah.
So I
Tell me
wonder if
what
he
a-
actually thinks it's fast enough now.
Now this one actually looks like it's moving, so this is probably the fastest I do it, unless you would, like Nick said, you want a special weapon that is a constant stream, in which case I'd probably change a bullet color or shape to kind of emphasize that point. But Starfield keeps moving at full throttle, and
Yeah,
Sorry, Nick, go
one
ahead.
routine can create 2-3 different firing styles.
Yeah.
All right. I like the explosions too.
Yeah. Now he's definitely been putting a lot of work into this one, and you can tell how much he's improved since his earlier games. Like, holy cow, this is looking really good, I have to say. I don't know if he'll be done for Septandy or not, but anyway, you guys
Not
get the
bad
idea.
Not bad for a computer with no sound chip, don't you reckon?
Yeah. And no sprite chip either.
Yeah.
Just raw CPU power and a PIA hack to look like a DAC.
Yeah.
So he's been making good progress in the game here. It's interesting seeing, like, this is from the developer's perspective of what, the different settings of speed. And like you said, Nick, that actually almost makes it a second weapon. You can just change that one parameter. if you get a power up and all of a sudden, voila, you got something different.
Yeah.
And if I remember later on, he actually has the IRQ enabled, border color changes and stuff too, that you can see how much CPU time it's actually taking for some of the different settings too. So I won't play the whole thing there, but go check it out if you're on Facebook in the CoCo group. And once he gets this game done, we'll have to have him on, and we'll have the new CoCo Games face off between Nick and Paul, like a cage match.
The billionaire cage match.
Yeah, like Musk and Zuckerberg.
Ferrari versus Porsche.
Or Lamborghini, yeah.
Or Lamborghini, yeah.
Who brought a McLaren to this car race?
Can't use a Tesla because it spontaneously lights in fire. But anyway. Sorry, I had to throw that in. Right now, that just might be from Arizona Heat. That might be any car at this point.
Right. Just
I was going to see if Ron was going to react to that, but I don't think he's at his keyboard at the moment. Okay, next up, we've kind of talked about this one before, but Christopher Lee has now announced the official Kickstarter has started for his development of his Infocom engine-based game called The Forgotten Pyramid. He's already got some artwork and stuff kind of set up for it. And this is a multi-platform Infocom engine text adventure. So the Infocom engine, of course, has one of the better text parsers from the time, and there's been a few other releases recently based on the Infocom engine. He is planning on a Dragon and CoCo versions of this as well, and he actually sells it in professional packaging, as you can see here, with like an actual full color box and kind of, I don't know what you quite call the instructions, but they're not just like on a white sheet with some color printing. They actually look like ancient papyrus or something that you'd find. So if you want to support that, he will be selling it separately too. He has a digital download and a physical copy, like you're seeing the stuff here. But you can support him on the Patreon to kind of get on it early. And there's some extra bonus stuff you can get on the Patreon Kickstarter, not Patreon, that you may not get with the just straight outright buying the game. So I can't remember if this is the same guy. We had one of the guys that did an Infocom game a couple years ago on us for an interview, Mark or somebody. Do you remember if that was the same guy, or is it a different guy that was doing that? Mark Overalls, I should mention, because I thought Mark, weren't you the one that actually brought the guy in?
I didn't hear Mark O. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I didn't say Marco. That was a problem.
Yeah, I know. I thought you were talking to Mark B. There's Nox Arceus, which has like full pack like this with maps, even have a cloth map option. But yeah, I don't remember. There was somebody that was doing Infocom game stuff, but I can't remember now.
Yeah, I remember we had him on for an interview, and it was kind of interesting. I know a few people bought the game based on that, but I can't remember if it's the same guy or not.
It might be, but the Christopher Lee doesn't look familiar. But
as he picked that name as an alias, based on the actor.
It's not the same guy.
It isn't? Okay.
I think you're thinking of was Hibernated.
Yes.
And that was Stephen Vogt.
Right. You're right. Now that you mention that, now that I remember the other guy's name, yeah. So it's cool that a lot of people are taking the Infocom engine and kind of running with it, making new stuff for it. So,
it's beautiful.
Interactive fiction never went away.
Nope.
There is a huge community of interactive fiction development, and they have continued moving on past the Infocom engine into their own language called Inform, and it's gone through several generations. There's a big handbook for Inform that's out there. It's much easier to write interactive fiction using Inform than trying to understand the old Zork Infocom language, Zork interpreter language, whatever ZIL was.
ZIL.
Yeah, and there's 7 versions of that. So
yeah, there's a pile of those as well. But Inform was designed to recreate what Infocom's language was capable of, but using what looks like a little bit more modern language structures.
Probably also unencumbered by copyrights too.
There's tools that you can write Inform or actually Infocom games now too. So there's what was it? Puddle Tools also had an interactive type, Sierra type adventure game engine. So yeah.
Yeah, I always like these. It just I'm like any RPG or adventure game, I just don't have the time to go through them that much anymore. These are going to be big retirement projects for me. Just to solve all these games.
Make a map. Step 2, die a lot.
I will
also
mention,
some-
like, one of the games we included with EOU, which is Stranded Not a Gas by Sean Driscoll. I'm trying to get on the show for an interview because he did a few games back in the day for OS9. I've actually been decompiling that using Wayne Campbell's Basic 9 decompiler because I wanted to speed it up because I did notice that he'd done some things, like fork a shell to fork the display command just to set an overlay window, which, I mean, I did that too back in the day because we didn't know any better. But basically, you're forking two processes just to send a 2-character code. So it's pretty CPU and memory intensive. It doesn't need to be. And I've actually noted some pretty big speed improvements on that. And I will mention that will be on the next 101 release. But if you're into text adventure games, that's a very nicely laid out one. It's kind of got a 3D look and organized areas for your inventory and your interactive part and your descriptions. Kind of like Infocom had the little status bar on the top and stuff. So if you're into the interactive fiction genre, there'll be an update to that as well.
There's also a group on Facebook called Text Adventures and Interactive Fiction Play Design and Development Group, which I'm a member of. And if you're interested in this sort of stuff, you might want to join as well if you're on Facebook.
Yeah, and there's also a web page. Is it lysator.org or something like that? Can't remember the name of it now, but it basically covers all text adventure games right from the mainframe ones in the 60s all the way up to now. I can't remember if that's the name.
Or maybe DE, maybe in Germany.
Okay, yeah, I was going completely off memory there, and I haven't been on it for a while. So
LYSATOR.
Yeah, I do remember that they actually have covered some CoCo specific ones on that page. So they try to cover everything they can.
Might be SE.
And next up, we covered this guy's page last week. This is the modest one. Paul is the best 3 UK. So he released a bunch more Dragon gameplay videos, and these are basically, fairly long ones. Like he doesn't do the one, quick little 1 or 2 minute thing. He does, a fair bit of gameplay. Most of these games we have seen before. I'm not going to play any of them. Maybe you can see them on the screen here. So like Mooncrest and Dark Star and Tanglewood and Bubble Buster. And I like the fact that Unlegged he puts a warning contains a lot of swearing. He must have been getting frustrated playing it. I'm imagining that I'm going to see, videos like that during September for Neutroid. Then Chambers, Kamikaze, and then one he just put in today, he did Monkey Kong and bonus game. I don't know what the bonus game is because I didn't actually watch it, but I'll let that surprise you as much as it surprised me because I don't know what the bonus game is going to be. But a lot of longer play videos, so you can see like multiple levels or, a lot of the gameplay as opposed to just a quick little snippet. Davy's Retro Corners, David Mitchell, he posted about this on Facebook as well, but also on his YouTube channel. He's got a game he wrote from scratch based on a game from rosettacode.org. Now, I'm hoping Alan knows more about rosettacode.org than I do because I'd never heard of it before. And the game's called Flipping Bits. Have you heard of that website, Alan?
The Rosetta Code? Yeah.
What is that exactly?
It's coding challenges, coding pieces. It's all about decoding code and coding as a hobby. Okay.
Because basically this is a game that was published there first for multiple platforms, and he converted it to run on the Dragon or CoCo. And it's well, actually I'll play it a little bit here so you can kind of see what's going on. So that's the intro screen where he mentions he wrote it in August of 2023. So basically what happens here is it shows you the current board and then the target. So you're trying to get the board as it starts on the left, and you want to get it so it matches the one on the right. Now you'll see little row and column headers, almost like an Excel spreadsheet, except it's got white and black pixels under each cell. And that's ones that you can select a row or column, and it will invert all the bits. So anything white turns to black, anything black turns to white. And you have to kind of like figure out the combinations of rows and columns to try to get it to switch over to match the target on the right. And it's timed. So, the faster you do it, the better you do. And it gets more complicated. Like in this case here, you're just trying to basically get, 4 white dots, like the number 4 on a dice or something like that from that schmozzy mess on the left. and then you just keep hitting the columns and rows until you get it flipped over, and then it gets harder and harder with the patterns later on. So it's kind of an interesting game. And you can kind of tell looking at the left here which one he selected, because he just selected column 3 or 4 that was here. He just selected column 6, and they're solved already. So if you're into strategy games and you're into a little bit of this kind of teaches you a little bit of assembly, because you're figuring out how the exclusive or FF command works. That basically is what you're doing here, because you're inverting the bits as you go. Anyway, a nice little download you can get there. And if you want to grab it, you can go to his Retro Corner Redux Daft Spaniel page on GitHub. And he's actually got the basic source code right there for you to download and grab. And then the little README on how to play the game, which isn't much to it. It's pretty well self-explanatory. Nice little strategy game, though. It's kind of like one of those old sliding square things with the numbers on them, 1 to 15. You had to try to get them back in the right order.
2-dimensional puzzles. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, the ones they used to give you in cereal boxes. I can't remember the name of this.
I don't remember the title either, but I was fairly good at those.
I was good about taking them apart and putting them back together. That's what I did with Rubik's Cube too. That was much
And you
easier.
could always solve it.
Quarter turn, pop the edge.
Yeah. If that didn't work, you take a blow dryer and heat the stickers of the Rubik's Cube, so you can just move the colors off onto different spots. Kind of like removing the warranty sticker, but still putting it back on so it looks like you hadn't opened it up. Oops, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Actually, it'd be good with that is to basically put the stickers on in random orders. There's no pattern.
So they don't work.
And then mess them up. Let people go,
give it to one of those Rubik's Cube champions. Here, sucker, let's see you handle this one. I just noticed there's a comment from Sixy here. He's talking about the Tanglewood game, which if you're watching that Best in the UK thing, he had that was one of the video streams he did there, and Sixy's mentioning that he thought there might be a good live stream co-op with people guiding the main player for adventure, but Tanglewood has real-time element, so he's not sure if that would work. I have looked at that game before, and somebody else did a video of it, but that's one I haven't actually played, and I don't know how we handle adventure games. We've tried it a few times, and maybe as an alternate side gig on the regular 2 games for a Game On challenge, but something that people can come on and kind of talk about how far they got into the game or secrets they discovered or something. I'll have to try that.
Actually, might be good to do that as a team thing. Have groups of people take that on. And
yeah, that's what Sixty was mentioning. Like Kieran was mentioning that, but he said that Tanglewood has real-time elements, so he's not sure if that would work, because if you have to react in real time or you die, you can't take too long to get suggestions from the audience. And normally when you do a stream, those chats, 10 seconds behind, so you might be dead already. Right. That might be a good in-person one at a fest or something, though.
Yeah, well, and again, Discord's pretty decent about real-time chatting. That's what it was developed for back channel, with people doing gaming. So
yeah, we have to get more people onto the Discord instead of just watching on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch.
Well, so we basically just set up 2 or 3 different channels for the teams, and then have the main person stream that and then capture all that. So,
yeah.
Anyway, it's an idea.
Next up, in the last one of the Game On or challenge news here, Le Fondateur, I'm assuming that's French, did a quick gameplay video. It's like 30 seconds long of time banding on his CoCo 3 on real hardware, on a real monitor adapter for comps. Unfortunately, he had the wrong artifact colors here, which I mentioned in the comments to him, because I don't know if he would have known about the F1 trick. And of course, time band's one of my favorite games of all time. That was one of the ones like Donkey King that really sold that, the CoCo can do some decent gaming. Or Lucifer's Kingdom on the Dragon, as the CoCo show covered recently. Anyway, that's a classic. Okay, so that's the end of that. Did you want to play the flaming hair intro thing for the regular news, or? Oh, David Ladd's here, not here to request it, so I'm fine with it not happening. But
why do you not?
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world, to your nation, the CoCo Nation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
Close the show down now.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So first up, and this is following up with Nick or somebody else, we were talking about the 639 earlier. So Chibi Akumas, who has done all these different tutorials on Dragons, CoCos, Genesis, Amigas, whatever. He covers dozens of platforms, dozens of CPUs, and he does all these assembly language tutorials on how to control the sound, the graphics, how to program for a certain CPU, etc. And now, originally, when he did the 609, I actually mentioned in the comments, you should do something in the 639. He thought, basically no machine was ever sold with the 639 as a standard chip, so he was not going to do it. But then he decided, actually, after taking a deeper look into it recently, that, it's an interesting enough chip, he's going to cover it. So he just started the series. So he's only started. So he's going through extra registers. He's got a few minor mistakes that he did in this one here. I don't think he quite understood what native mode meant versus some of the other things you can control and read from the MD register. So I sent him a little comment on that, but he's basically just starting on it. So he's covering the extra registers. He's covering the fact that there's, some 32-bit register now. You have the Q. He hasn't covered stuff like the TFM command yet or the bit mode operation. So it's going to be a multi-episode, definitely. There's a lot of stuff new on that chip. So, but if you want to get a start on the 609 versus the 6809, this is a good starting point. It's going to be part of an ongoing series. I'm not sure if he's going to start trying to, pull off some stunts with sound and or graphics that would be, much easier to do with 609 because of stuff like the TFM block memory move command we talked about earlier, or if he's just going to basically cover the CPU in general. But he is using the CoCo and VCC as the emulator to use to kind of show the stuff off. And he wrote some test programs to show you how registers get affected when you do certain things, etc. But it's a good start. Looking forward to this. He's doing a couple of these more odd chips. I think the other one he's doing is which was sold on some mainstream machines, is the what is the 2GS use, Mark? 65816 or something. Is that the name of the chip?
Yeah, 65816.
Yeah, because that was another one that wasn't. It was a big, huge upgrade, but wasn't used in as many. That one was used in some original machines like the 2GS.
Actually, the Rico variant was used in the Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Oh, Super Nintendo used it, right? Okay, I forgot about that one.
That's probably that is probably the widest distribution of that particular architecture is the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that would have been much more popular than the 2GS because the 2GS was kind of like at the end of life in 92 or 93, I think.
Yeah, earlier actually, the original Apple II line, the Platinum went till 93. 2GS was, I think it was 89. Yeah, it was only out for like 4 years, 5 years. So
okay, so I'm maybe thinking the end of the run then, the 92, 93. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely the specs on the 65816 is a lot closer to the 6809 as far as the dual stacks and some of the stuff you can do with it, but still not nearly as good.
Yeah.
Too little, too late.
Yeah. It's kind of like when we found the 609 because we found out the extra things, after Tandy had just shut it down the year before.
Yeah.
Right.
If we'd been reading up in Japan, we would have heard about it back, in 88, but that probably would have been too late too. But the chip came out in time that Tandy could have put it in.
Yeah. Got a little boost. Actually, Western Design Center still makes the 65816. You can get a 14 megahertz version of it available still.
And it actually still makes a 609 for military contracts too. So,
yeah.
Anyway, there's a screenshot here where he's kind of going through the different registers and you kind of like prove that they're working. So he does register dumps. He goes extensively into the V register, which is kind of an oddball one because you can't do anything except transfer or exchange with it. Basically, it's not an indexing. It's not a stack. The one unique thing about it, and I've used this in debugging in Nitrous 9 back in the old days. Now I cheat and use MAME. But back then, if you had a crash, the V register would remain. It would keep the contents even if you had to do a hard reset. And it's the only register that does that because most of the time the CPU reinitializes. But whatever you last left in the V is still in the V when you reboot. So as long as your reboot doesn't rewrite V itself, you could actually, you could say have a counter running up. I go through this routine, it's a 1. If I go to this next second routine, it's a 2. If it's 3, 4, 5, etc. And then if your code crashed, you could actually print the V register out after you rebooted by hitting reset. and it would say V equals 3. So you know it got to that routine, but did not make it to 4. So it was like critical for debugging stuff. Or you can use it as a, an offset value that you're going to be using a ton in code for maybe a table offset or something like that, because you can actually, add register V plus D to the D register or something like that. So you could actually use it as a offsets or as index registers as something you would add to an index register. So he goes into that a fair bit too. But yeah, it's a really good start to the series. I'm not sure how fast he's doing these because he's actually got multiple series going on right now, like he always does. So he's doing every week he puts out one for a different thing entirely, and then it goes back to the 6 through 9 in so many weeks or whatever to part 2. But definitely would keep an eye out for it. He does some really cool stuff, and he has actually got his physical books we've talked about. I think Alan actually has them because he does multiple CPUs in these books. That you buy one book and it covers like 4 different CPUs. Next up, CoCo Town did a couple of videos this week. First one is going through sorts and machine language. So he did the previous going through a little bit of sorting stuff here, but here he actually goes through visual sorts of the bubble sort, the quick sort, and the one he did last time, the insertion sort, and then shows the relative speeds. And obviously the quick sort is well named because it's way faster than the other ones. And he also goes through the ROM timer using the timer command that extend basic uses. So you can actually time within a 60th of a second when you're running through these to see how long they take. And a little bit on interrupts. I'm not going to play it here because it's a pretty long video and there's a lot of stuff to get covered there. But if you want to learn about sorts and also some of the other things like interrupts and the ROM timer. Great video, very visual. So if you're a visual learner, you'll probably get more out of this than, say, the Dennis Kitts stuff we talked about earlier. And he's actually got the source code for all the different sorts he tried here, too, if you want to go down to his webpage versus the YouTube channel. So you can actually go through them all here. Here's the quick sort and friends, as he calls it. And well commented, unlike Nick's code. So if you want to kind of go through and learn how things are done. So there's the insertion sort here, bubble sort, which is very small code-wise, but also very slow. The quick sort, which is quite a bit more code, but is way faster. Probably well worth it unless you're only sorting like a high score table of 10 people or something.
So
and this one,
isn't commenting in code just in case you need to debug it later? And since Nick never writes bugs, what would he do?
Yeah, I've got no need for it. So, what's this bug you're talking about?
I would just point you to Neutroid 1, Neutroid 2, Neutroid 2015.
Actually, one thing with a standard just a bubble sort is that if you're sorting something like a high scores list, it's probably already sorted. You're just trying to figure out where do you put the new high score or not. So really wouldn't matter too much.
I mean, honestly, when I'm doing sorts for just quick little things, I use the bubble sort because it's so easy. I can write it in like 6 lines of basic and I'm done.
Yep.
Whereas a quick sort, I actually have to think a little bit to kind of remember it. It's a bit more complex. But if you are doing something fairly large table-wise that you have to sort, it's definitely worth the extra time because you'll save a ton of time doing the sort itself. This next one, it's a real quick video. I'm not going to play it. I didn't even start playing it. I'm just showing the intro screen because it kind of covers everything. So he's part of a series. This is CoCo Town still. Part of a series called Unraveled Gems, and that's kind of a nice play on words because these are coming from the Spectral Associates Unraveled Basic series, which is basically a disassembly of all the ROMs. And he comes with a little trick here. We've used this trick in Nitrous 9 in the graphics driver and the disk driver and a bunch of other things. But basically, it's a way to shorten your code with something that looks really, really odd. And I don't do it this way, the way Spectral kind of listed it here. So you'll see a little bit of text on the top. So there's a load A with O for output file type, compare X with just, looks like garbage, and then a load A with I for input file type. And basically what this is that you use an opcode, in this case, the opcode for compare X immediate. Basically what it's doing is because the compare X immediate will take 3 bytes, the opcode itself, and then the 2 bytes that you're comparing X with, which would be a 16-bit register. You're using it to basically just tell it to basically do a no-op and skip bytes. But what it does here, like 8649, which you'll see is the compare X value it's comparing to, is actually the opcode for the load A I that you see right below it. 86 is the opcode for load A, 49 is the code for a capital I in ASCII. So basically the compare X is just a little pre-byte that says, it's basically what it's really telling it to do is skip these next 2 bytes entirely. Just, you're going to do a compare X that doesn't mean anything. We're not going to use anything from it. We're not going to use the fact that if it's equal or anything else, we don't care. It's just a way to make it skip the next 2 bytes of code. So basically this has a 2 entry points of this routine. You'll be doing some other stuff earlier, doing a test or compare or something. And in one case, you want to load A with O and then continue on the code. And the other time you want to load I with O. Or sorry, load A with I instead. Now, normally to get around this, you do a load A O at the beginning, and then you have to do a branch always to skip past the load I. So that's 2 bytes, 3 CPU cycles to do. Using the compare X trip, which basically becomes almost like a no-op, it's actually going to just add 1 byte. A compare X immediate still takes 3 cycles, so it's just as fast as a branch, but it saves you a byte. And if you're really getting crunched for code, that Microsoft used this trick multiple times in the basics. We used it multiple times in Nitrous 9 just to save a byte.
You're verging on Perl hacking here, though.
Yeah, this is almost like, it almost looks like self-modifying code, but it's not.
Well, it's write-only code. No one knows what the heck you're doing or why.
Well,
yeah.
So when you go and look at the source, however, the source was done on a PWP macro assembler, and this was a macro called skip2, SKP2.
Yep. That's what we do in GravTrip. Is skip 1 and skip 2.
Yeah, and there's the skip 3 and skip 1. Yeah. So they didn't see it this way when they were reading their code because they were reading the macro. And then the assembler turns the macro into the actual compare X with the stuff after it. So
yeah, the way we do it in Nitrous 9 is we don't do it this way. This is the way it showed up in the actual Unraveled series. They're disassembling ROMs without real source. So they kind of show the compare X. And if you looked at the address field that comes before this, you'll notice that the compare X is only 1 byte before where the load A shows up. And normally compare X would, be 3 bytes long. So they're indicated that way. We usually use an FCB, and we call the FCB basically the instruction skip 2, like you were mentioning, Alan. And we just do a skip 2 equates the opcode for a compare X immediate. And then in this case, we put load A number 0, skip 2, FCB skip 2, which basically tells it to skip the 2 bytes and then the load A. So it kind of is easier to read because the compare X, if you're just looking at it quick, you're going, why the hell are you doing that? And the skip 2 non-commature actually, I think, is a bit more clear to read. And then we used branch never as a skip 1. So if you had a routine that was supposed to do, I'd say a clear A or a com A, depending, you could just do a BRN to skip it because a branch, once again, 2 cycles or two bytes to use, where a BRN, you can just put the one little opcode and it skips the com A or whatever it was, saving a byte that way as well. So there's a couple, and there's some other ones. Now, when you get to the ones where you're doing skip 3 and skip 4, if your routine is basically trying to just save space, that makes a lot of sense. You can do like a long branch never or something like that. If you're trying to get the code fast, though, when you start getting to the 3 byte skips, you're starting to do instructions that actually will slow the program down. It'll still skip the 3 bytes, but it might be more advantageous to do the branch because it might actually be a bit faster. So you kind of have to balance, which way you're trying to get your code to work.
Crunching code or you crunching time?
Yeah. In this case here, it's a wash. It's the same speed whether you do the compare X trick or if you do a branch always. You're just saving the byte. So anyway, that was pretty cool. I actually comment on that because I mentioned we use that in Nitrous 9 in multiple places. I actually use it in actual applications too, not just the OS itself.
You'll see it in the Dragon in CBM.
Did you get all that, Ron?
Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
You'll see that in the Dragon Basic dump that just came out.
Yeah, well, Motorola used it, or Microsoft used it in the CoCo Basic too. It's actually something I remember they wrote about back in 81, 82 that they were using these little tricks.
Well, it comes from all the way back to very early Basic.
Yeah. Well, did the 6502 and some of the other CPUs have that same type of situation?
Yeah, they've got skip macros in those too.
Okay, cool. I haven't actually looked at those. So next up, we have a couple updates from Cheer City Retro Programming. So the first one is on Tales Suburbia. So he's added this other room here, which is the hobby shop. And he hasn't quite got it finished yet because you can actually walk through the desk and stuff here, but he's actually got it so you can actually walk up to an object, click the button, and it'll describe it. So he's getting close to the end of this game. So I won't play it here. It's just basically some updates of some stuff he's added on. And then he's got 2 others here based on a game that I had started in BASIC back in 1986, and this was after I kind of fully got how the fast get put buffers worked. And I actually got to the point where I drew a character that can run in both directions under control of the joystick at fairly high speed for BASIC, fairly detailed P mode 4. And then the CoCo 3 came out, and I never touched it ever again. So I basically offered it to him because he'd heard that I did this when we were going through, if you remember this, previous times we were going through and explaining how the fast get put buffer works, because it's literally 3 to 4 times faster than the standard get put buffers as described in the manual. So I sent him the disk image with my code as it was in 1986, because I have no plans. He seems to think I'm going to go in and redraw a bunch of stuff. I'm not. I don't have any interest in doing this again. But anybody who wants the code, if he decides not to go too much further on it, anybody wants it and they want to play with it, like, feel free. Now, one thing, I don't know why he keeps doing this. He always shuts off the speed up poke, which, I mean, if you go through Rainbow and stuff like that, like every basic game uses the speed up poke because it makes a huge difference. Why would you not? It's built into every machine. The only CoCos that could not run the speed up poke were the very, very early ones, and literally they just needed a capacitor snipped or something, from what I remember. Some of you hardware guys might remember the details. The one thing you have to be careful on is that if you're saving to cassette or saving to disk, the timing gets a bit thrown off. So you might need a patch basic like ADOS or something like that to get it to function properly, or you just remember to do the slow down poke, then save your program. So this is actually running slower than it should. Just a little bit of a demo here, but
so now what happens is, and I'm going to turn the sound back down because there's sound in this, and I don't want it to go.
But basically, that's at regular speed. It runs a fair bit faster if you run the version I did back in '86, and you can flip the guy around and run both directions. I was planning on trying to do a clone of Kung Fu Master and have the ground scrolling. You'd kick and punch and whatever else. But like I said, I started working on this late summer of '86, and then the CoCo 3 came out, and I never looked back. So he basically just went through that. That was kind of explaining like what my original version did. And then he did a follow-up video where he's kind of changing it around a bit from what I was originally planning, but that's fine because it's not my game anymore. I started it. I have no intention of finishing it. So basically he's added some little Chinese characters, and this actually stands for Kung Fu. I don't read Japanese or Chinese. I'm not even sure which language this is in, but apparently these are real characters and real words. And then he's basically been adding in a little throwing star thing.
And then position it, and then get it to throw. So if I press the button, he throws it.
Now, he's using a P-copy technique here. So he's basically copying the bottom 2 pages again. So he's moving like 3K of data around between each frame to draw the throwing star. Personally, if I was going to pursue that line with this game, I would not be doing it using that method. I would be using the get your throwing star shape with a bit of extra space, and the get put buffer on the left and the right side is 2 different get put buffers. That way you just redraw, like put, and it cleans itself up as it's moving across. And you can eliminate that whole 3K memory copy that P-copy is doing. And it would run much, much, much faster. But the reason he's been using P-copy on some of the other games here is because he wants to restore a background. Now, when I was really planning doing Kung Fu Master, I wasn't going to have a background behind the character. I was going to have a background on the floor and the ceiling above, which would be totally separate. And I don't have to worry about masking stuff over top because in basic masking is pretty slow. But he's kind of like, going his own way with his own version of the game here. So there's definitely some tips and tricks I will try to help him with. But I just don't have time to draw characters. Like, as Nick knows, when I was trying to draw the stuff from my game Liberation, which I'll hopefully get back to some point. Drawing graphics is not my thing. I suck at it. It takes a long time. And he was pretty impressed with these characters I drew. This took me like days to draw this stupid thing. So it's not really my forte. Well, interesting to see where we're going to take it. Next up, Glenn Hewlett of Transcode fame. So I think last week we covered the fact that he actually did a little ML subroutine you can load in your own basic program for the 32-column screen. And then you can have it scroll in any of the 4 directions in any size at any start point. So you can actually control the screen and kind of have a little mini window that you can scroll around. Well, since that, which we covered last week, he's actually created an 80-column version now for the CoCo 3. And you can actually go and download stuff off of his GitHub. So here's the original CoCo scroll, the one we covered last week. And you've got both the basic and the assembly language source code. Plus, you've got the disk image if you want to just download it and throw it on a CoCo STC or on the emulator, go ahead. But he's also got now the CoCo 380 column version. So if you wanted to make like a rogue style game or something like that, and you can do some graphics with this just by using background and foreground colors, because we have 8 foreground colors and 8 background colors in with 80. So you can actually just scroll around almost like Rogue or something like that, or some RPG or whatever, or even an arcade game if you wanted to. So that actually would work pretty good. And he's actually using stack blasting and stuff here, so it's a fairly fast copy of scrolling the rate. And I did run it briefly as a quick test. Maybe if somebody wants to demonstrate, they can. But yeah, it works pretty good. You can scroll in all 4 directions and fill in you know stuff that you're scrolling on. And yeah, you can do some pretty cool arcade games. There's a little thing, and it's just it's basically just a USR call. You do a couple pokes to say what direction you want to do your scroll. Where do you want the scroll to start? How wide or tall do you want the scrolling area to be? And call the USR. And if you accidentally typed in something wrong, like you try and scroll from column 105, of course we don't have, then it'll return a little error thing to tell you it didn't work. So nice and basic friendly, doesn't take a lot of space. I kind of hit it. You should probably make a 639 version of it too, but because it would be much, much smaller and faster. So, and I keep trying to convince him, but he hasn't been thoroughly convinced in the comments yet. Next up, we have a new version of VCC. Speaking of, 2.1.0.8 is now out. Thanks to Bill Pierce for announcing this. A lot of people went into the production of this, and he's got the notes here of all the stuff that's been changed and who's been credited with it. Basically, there's some bug fixes, so certain programs will work. There's some fixes for the 6 through 9. One of the main ones is that there's now emulation for the RS-232 pack, which I'm sure Ron would like, because then you could try running Twilight Terminal and NetMate, even on an emulator if you wanted to. A pause function, which for you game players here trying to capture a screen capture, with some of those games that, here's your high score. Oh, here's back to the intro screen. You never see your high score ever again. Now you can pause it. And a bunch of other fixes too, like P-mode forward colors and stuff like that too. So has anybody here downloaded this? It just got released 5 days ago. Has anybody here downloaded and given this a shot?
Didn't know it was a thing.
I downloaded this last week and was trying to use it to debug the Alcaron game. Alcaron. So, seems to work.
Okay. Cool. Ron, it sounds like you got it too.
Yeah, but I was disappointed because all the colors that High Color uses to do its thing weren't corrected, and he says they can't be corrected and will never be corrected because there's too much code to fix. And so I have to stick with XROR or MAME because it just, in fact, I tried this version with High Color to see if I can use the little trick where I change the palettes and stuff, and it usually makes up for the colors not being right, but that doesn't work at all now either. So it's unusable with High Color too. Yeah.
Yeah, because High Color is both it's changing palettes every scan line, if I remember correctly, and then switching between several on every alternating screen or something. So there's a lot of timing, very precise timing for that to work. So yeah, I remember reading that they hadn't done the way the timing worked. It's good enough for VSync timing, like flipping between 2 screens, but it's not precise enough to do flipping between every scan line.
Yeah, but the weird thing is you can make it not flip, just have one color set. I mean, it still isn't correct because of the way the colors are arranged or something.
Well, I think if I remember, he's changing the palette, literally all 16 palettes every scan line, even if you're on a single screen. If I remember socks. Okay. So he's using all 64 colors on the screen at once. I think that's probably what the timing issue is. And yeah, depending on how they coded it, it probably is a lot of changes. You might break a lot of things to try to get it to work. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I think somebody just has to take the time to rewrite that whole engine.
Well, he made an explanation to my question about that, and that explains why it probably won't be done.
Yeah, it would take somebody pretty dedicated to go through and do it, but it's definitely not impossible. Otherwise, you'd never see an XROR MAME. Next up, and I think, Alan, you might be able to help me a little bit with this. Thomas Cherry Holmes, the guy who's in charge of the Fujinet project, which is a multi-platform networking thing for grabbing files off the net, etc., is looking for some help from maintainers for the CoCo side of the project, as well as some other machines, because it's just getting to be too big for just him. But basically, he's put out a community call for help, and these would be for maintainers. These are people that will update the docs, test it every time there's new releases, and make sure that new features work, etc. So he's posted this. I think he's posted this on the Discord too, if I'm not mistaken. But this is showing a screenshot from Facebook. Alan?
Yeah, he posted it on the Discord as well. So what help are you asking me for, to explain what the point is?
Yeah, did I get that right, basically? Because I just read this quickly.
Yeah, so FujiNet is a project that goes across a number of different retro platforms. And what he's looking for is to expand the community that supports all the different parts of FujiNet, to make sure that when a part is changed somewhere, it doesn't break it for other retro communities. So if you change this core piece, there's a group that knows the Apple, there's a group that knows the CoCo, there's a group that knows the Atari that can test it and go, yeah, it's working the way it's supposed to, or it's not, and here's what we would change. And so it's gathering some more experts.
Okay.
What exactly is it? I mean, what am I going to use FujiNet for? That's what I don't understand. What is FujiNet really?
FujiNet exists on other platforms and is only partly available for CoCo so far. And
Atari
because of because of the complexity, that's what's delaying it even coming out for the CoCo. So I guess on the CoCo community side, the help initially would be to go and learn what the FujiNet is and does, and then to get the FujiNet yourself and start hacking on it. So the way I understand it, it's a network kind of adapter with a whole bunch of other features as well.
FujiNet.online tells you it's a multi-peripheral emulator and Wi-Fi network device for vintage computers.
Yeah, so it does like file shares and file gets, and you got Wi-Fi modem kind of stuff. I don't know if it has a real-time clock. I mean, once it comes to the CoCo, obviously
not interested.
It has to have one. But so yeah, the FujiNet isn't a CoCo thing yet. That's in progress, but it may not ever happen unless we get some CoCo folks that want it to get on and help.
I guess from the user perspective, which I think what Nick was asking, like what like if Ron installed this, what would he use it for?
I don't know if it shows high color, Ron. I'm sorry. I don't have a FujiNet for any platform, so I'm not the person to speak to what it do or don't.
From what I've seen, like Boat and Aaron have used it a bit on some of their retro machines. And from what I've seen, it's a way you can grab disk images and stuff directly on your 8-bit machine, like an Atari 8-bit, over the net. You don't have to download on a PC, then throw it on a card, or transfer it through DriveWire or anything else. It's basically you can directly go out and grab a copy of Neutroid.
Uses something called Trivial Network File System, TNFS, which is from the Sinclair community. So you can mount disk images across the internet and load them directly into your system.
Well, through a serial transport, right? So the CoCo sees serial port. The serial port does whatever file transfers are necessary. And
I think for the CoCo, they're targeting a serial transport. For the Atari, it uses their SIO, which is their printer and disk system, kind of like the Commodore has. For the Apple II, I think they're using the Super Serial card, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because what I've seen it mostly being used for, and I know there's other functions to it, is that it's a way to distribute software over the net directly to an 8-bit platform.
Right.
Also network games. Yeah.
Yes, network games. And if you think of the archives, the Dragon archive and the CoCo archive, you would basically be able to connect directly to them to get something.
Right.
Yeah, like right from your CoCo. You don't have to throw it onto a PC or Mac or Linux and then copy it to an SD card or whatever. It's just you just directly go in.
Because it's
a hardware and a software combination, correct?
Yep, correct. Yeah, because you're using the ESP32, it'll support not just HTTP and FTP, but also HTTPS. So you'll be able to connect directly to a website and download a file directly.
Okay. Does that help you, Nick? Does that kind of explain it?
Yeah, it does. I don't know if I have any interest in it. Though.
Not yet.
Yeah, we'll have real Ethernet on the CoCo soon enough. So.
Yeah, that's actually a discussion I've had with some people in various communities. Is kind of like normal CoCo stuff. We kind of go our own way, and we want to have the full implementation, not just a
multiplayer game. What might be interesting?
Yeah,
grabbing disk images. Yeah, okay. There are other ways to do it.
I mean, essentially, because it's using its own network hardware, and you guys are working on network hardware at the same time. I'm assuming it's more like a software layer to how it's done. How do I go get files? How do I share, my game firing and positions and stuff like that between games, etc. So I think it's just more of like a software transport or software layer that kind of.
On the Atari 8-bits, they basically extended their protocol for like disks and printers, where they have a network option N device, and then they can just like the Xi modem devices. You can basically use the N device and open an IP address, and then start basically a telnet session with something, or load a web page from something.
Okay, can you display a web page like an Atari 8-bit? Then is that what you're saying, or no?
Well. There's a lot of junk on web
like
pages.
links.
Yeah, theoretically you could. Being this ESP32, and those are like a quad core, many megabytes of RAM. Theoretically, it could process the page and then send you a simplified page. But I don't know to what level they've taken it. I haven't gotten the Apple FujiNet, and I definitely don't have an Atari, so I haven't really played with it. Just been following it.
Oh, okay. I know we had Thomas on about this several years back when he was trying to get some CoCo people involved first time.
And the Irata Online, which is the cyber.
The Irata Online. Is this the same thing as FujiNet or no?
No, but theoretically, FujiNet could be used to access it, theoretically.
Because that's what I thought you were first talking about, because I've been on there a few times. In fact, isn't there a
that's the Plato network.
CoCo Pi? Yeah.
No, the Plato system was a mainframe environment so that multiple terminals could connect and do stuff. So this is adding hardware networking to various classic computer systems.
And an easy file transfer for those systems.
Yep. Right. It sounds like there is a mothership that you're connecting to. So they have the HTTP adapter to the lobby and things like that. So I'd like to be interested. I'd be interested to see what all is going on there.
Is this something like that Nebu system or whatever it's called?
It's more like a CoCo SDC drive wire sort of thing. Primarily like drive wire, but wirelessly.
Yep.
Yeah, with a full network card instead of just the bitbanger. So theoretically, I'm assuming this could be a cartridge at some point that runs at a lot faster speeds than DriveWire is capable.
I think they're targeting the bitbanger port at this point.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that they're like I said, the Atari version actually hooks into their SIO port, which is a serial interface like the Commodore has to talk to peripherals. So I think, as far as what I've seen, they're actually what they're targeting at this moment. They're not building a dedicated cartridge.
And dear audience, as you can tell from this discussion, we actually don't know. We do know that
we were pretending so well until you said that.
They do know that they want help, and so if we can get some people to go look and figure out what kind of help they need, I'm sure we could probably figure out what it actually does along the way.
Yeah, the one thing that interested me the most about it, and I think it's probably with Nick as well, is the fact that the fact that you can use it for online gaming. That's good in and of itself. But I remember, Mark, you were mentioning like there's a Apple II racing car game that you'd showed us that actually will work between different 8-bit machines. So you can have an Apple player playing against a CoCo player playing against an Atari player on the same FujiNet.
And a Commodore player. Yep. Yeah.
And that is the part that is the most interesting to me, because then if people can get together and design a game that works on all four or however many platforms they're planning on, you can actually show them we're better game players and programmers. No,
you'll do the OS9 driver then? Thanks.
So
there's
yeah,
one
the 8-bit slicks and the whole 8-bit Unity system could be leveraged to FujiNet. Currently, they're just using dedicated network cards for the Apple and the Commodore. They use the RRNet, which is like the one that Jim Brain sells, or a compatible one. They use the Ethernet cards that the Apple has. I know they have some dedicated hardware for a couple other systems, but most of those are still 6502 based, but still it is multi-platform and it's using network card. Yeah, theoretically FujiNet could be adapted to those systems and, multiple system gameplay.
Yeah. And honestly, with a driver, I mean, Rick's or Jim Brain's CoCo cards could run on that too as well.
The CoCo is the Ethernet, just without the driver. But as I understand it, even Bill Noble's been pulled in. And
he finally got some free time. So
nice.
And then your friends Henry Strickland, and he's currently in Germany. Has met some people that are interested in joining the project too. That aren't even CoCo people normally, but are interested in getting working, like you were mentioning with that bodge wire thing you showed earlier.
Exactly, and then he's already thrown together. TFTP exists, and all of these basic network utilities, all these DNS things exist. So it's all going to come together all at once we get the last few bugs done. And
the last few bugs on the hardware side, and then it's just the software side we got to work on.
Well, and the fact that being able to just boot EOU and you have all these network utilities available.
That's a good start.
If you can just call for TFTP to send you a file, that really cuts down the amount of work you've got to do to grab a file from someplace.
Yeah, and your web wrangler can actually hit my website, so that's always good too.
Oh, and here's another note on that. I just put a bunch of stuff on my GitHub, so if anyone's following that, I'm finally shoving the newer version back out that does things in graphics and so forth. The big refactor so that everything's remote and nothing is done in the main workspace except menu, screen render, and pipe things off to something else. So maybe we can get that done in 64K.
Well, like even Basic 09, I mean, you can map and unmap modules. When I was going through that stranded source code, that's what he does because he's got too much to fit in a 64K workspace, and he just links in this one part when he does it, and then he quickly does a kill command to get it out of the Basic 09 workspace and links in the next part he needs. And he has one master program that always stays in, but the rest just swaps in and out as needed.
That's the entire delay. Is I'm stealing that from you. Appreciate it. It works the champ. So.
Anyway, if there's anybody in the CoCo community that wants to help volunteer for this, because that will be a cross-platform one. That's one of the exciting things about FujiNet, because I mean, the stuff that Rick and Henry are doing is more just general internet protocol stuff, but this is a specific subset of stuff designed for retro computers to be able to share, like online games or files or whatever. And this would be a nice thing to actually have driven by those cards as well, or a separate piece of hardware, or just through the Bitbanger with DSP. For us to be able to start working together with other retro community platforms and get stuff working between all of them, which would be kind of cool.
So in the old days, BBSs did the same thing, but you'd have to log into your own specific computers.
No, that's a little bit different because you're logging into one machine that's controlling the game. Like if you logged into a PC running a game, if you run, logged into a CoCo running a game, like some of the stuff that AlphaSoft used to do. They used to have a Galactic Empire game that anybody, like a guy from a C64 to a VIC-20 to a Apple II to an IBM PC could log in and still play the same game. But the CoCo was completely in control of the game. All it's doing is sending screens to the other one.
Right.
This would be more of the fact that you actually are playing in the same game, and it doesn't matter who's hosting it.
Wasn't there ASCII games that did that?
Yes. Well, simple ones, or like the role-playing ones, like the trader games.
Yeah, because if you wanted just files, that's what BBSs were great for. And they had all the different download protocols.
X modem,
get
Y
it
modem.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah, that was more just file transfers, though. That doesn't translate. I download a CoCo program onto a C64 and it's going to run. That did not happen.
Right. Sharing game data is a whole other Idaho. So
yeah, I wasn't interested in that. I was going for the software.
You dirty pirate.
The Plato term was cool in that when you went on, it was like, it had line art. It had Tandy show up. But of course, it also showed up with Apple because they couldn't sense your machine.
Yeah, they're just random, the graphics.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the next one, Jamie Cho Now he's working on a color computer basic to Basic 09 converter. So this will take extended basic or disk extended basic programs and then translate the basic keywords over to Basic 09 equivalents. And as part of this project, he's just uploaded a spreadsheet you can go grab from his Google Doc, and links will be in the show notes on Discord. But he's basically, what he's doing here is he's trying to map the sound across, because Basic has 255 different sound pitches, and Basic 09 and OS 9 has 4,096 sound pitches. So he's kind of set up a spreadsheet to come up with an algorithm to try to figure out exactly, how can I get this to map as close as possible so that the sounds come out the same, no matter which one you're running, if you're running the original Basic code or if you're switching to the Basic 09 code. So I'm kind of interested. There's a lot of really good, Basic games that were written in Rainbow and Hot Cocoa and Color Computer Magazine back in the day. And this would help, translate them to run under Nitrous 9 with all the advantages of adding windowing and native mode 639 if you have one of those, and a whole bunch of other things. You can probably run it faster. So it'd be interesting to see how well this will work for translating stuff. Obviously, if you're poking a bunch of ML subroutines, that would be a bit difficult. That you'd have to probably manually translate. But as he goes further in this project, I'm definitely interested in giving it a shot later on, and try a couple old Rainbow games or Hot Cocoa or whatever, and see how they run under OS 9. Next up, Alan Huffman came across this. This is from Robin at 8-Bit Show and Tell. And he was showing a bug in Microsoft's BASIC for the Commodore PET, the VIC-20 and the C64 that had this bug. I guess it was fixed later in the Commodore 128 and 264 families. But basically, if you do a val using scientific exponentiation here, that's going to basically overflow. In this case, 1E39 on the screen is the sample showing on the Commodore BASIC version 4.0. Once it tries to run that program, it actually will give you an overflow error, which it should, but then it actually corrupts part of the BASIC program at the same time. And some people have tried that on the CoCo, including Alan, and it does the same thing on the CoCo. So this is a Microsoft BASIC bug that's been around on multiple platforms. And of course, the Microsoft BASIC is basically, I think Alan Murphy can probably explain it better than I am, but basically it's one common source code for all the various platforms with just some little tweaky things that are done for each individual platform. And also obviously it runs through a different assembler, but the main algorithms, et cetera, are exactly the same between them. And this is one that carried over. And I know William Astle in the comments actually went into some specifics here. If you want, I won't bother reading that on the air here, but if you want the technical explanation of what's happening and why, just check out on Alan's blog the comment section, and you'll see William kind of explains what's going on. It has to do with nulls. And Boise is now released on, he mentioned on Facebook here, it's also on his own GitHub site, that he's ported the CoreMark, which is an industry standard benchmark program, I believe, for C programs in general. I don't think it's an assembly benchmark, but correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know too much about it. And he built the CoCo version on CMOC. And I don't know much more about it. I haven't had a chance to run or anything. Is anybody here familiar with CoreMark?
Well, it's typically used as a benchmarking for PC machines.
Like modern PC or retro?
Yeah, they run. It's still an active website. I mean, yeah, they do. It's like a comparison between all your Intel and AMD processors.
Okay.
Rank them by speed.
And is that normally in C then, not in assembly? Because I mean, depending on how good the C compiler is, I think would make a bigger difference in the CPU then.
I've just seen it as an executable.
Oh, okay.
That you would download, and then you upload how great it's bragging rights.
It does kind of make sense. Our assembly is sort of, hopefully C speed enough for this number to make sense.
We should have Boise come on and explain.
Right. Can our assembler do C speed? Is that why we need CoreMark?
No, that way we can compare how the 6809, compares against, like an i9 or something,
Because, if other people get 63,012 and we get 4, how do you really compare that?
Well, that like I said, because from my understanding, because it's all C source code from Boise stuff there, and I'm assuming the main CoreMark is too, you're also dependent on the C compiler. Like if I run it under the OS 9 level 2 C compiler, or Jeff's, DCC optimized compiler versus CMOC, you might get some pretty big differences in results on the same machine at the same speed, CPU speed. So it seems to me, for me, it's more like a C compiler benchmark now. Well, and partly, I guess it's kind of a combo. It's a C compiler plus the CPU it's running on as a combination, as far as what you're actually benchmarking. 60 in the chat here saying, I tried Cormark and the Dragon PAL is faster than the CoCo NTSC. I'll let you figure that out why that is. I'm assuming it has to do with the 50 versus 60 hertz and possibly how the timing is done. If it's counting 60 clock ticks, and it would be.
Oh, it's 50. Who knows? Yeah.
I will mention here, though, for those that are listening on the audio here, that Mauricio Mate actually ran the benchmark on the CP400, which is one of the Brazilian CoCo clones. Can't remember how long it is, but basically it just shows a text screen of some remarks at the end here. So I can find it. It does take a while to run the CoCo versus modern machines, obviously. So we can zoom it up a bit. Can you guys see that zoomed up or no?
Yes.
Okay. So we did one iteration. He used a CMOC compiler, no compiler flags, memory allocation or memory location stack, and then some CRC stuff that I don't know, is that part of the algorithm of the actual Cormark? I don't have a clue. Correct operation validated. So basically it gave the expected results and then gives a Cormark 1 speed or rating of 0.028395646. I don't understand what any of that means. So if any of you know, feel free to pipe in.
I'm guessing it's good there's a lot of decimals in that number.
Yeah, well, we're way below a 1. Let's put it that way. And then here's the actual GitHub, Boise's GitHub with the Cormark here. So you've got the source code for CMOC. Does he have a disk image? I don't think he does. No, just a source. You have to build it yourself.
Okay, so on Cormark's, I think this is their website. It says Cormark is a simple yet sophisticated benchmark that is designed to specifically test the functionality of a processor core. Running Cormark produces a single number score, allowing users to make quick comparisons between processors.
Okay.
And let's see if I can find what some of today's processors run at.
As opposed to 0.
I bet you it's a bit bigger number than 0.02, whatever. Actually, the site you're on there, Mark, does it mention some other older retro machines in there to compare with? Like something more contemporaries?
This is what I'm seeing. I'm not even sure if this is their actual site or if this is someone else's site. That was just a Google search for Cormark. That wasn't a food company. Well, there's a white paper on how to port Cormark to bare metal. Okay. I was looking to see if there was like what some of today's processors are able to do.
Yeah, because if we don't have a comparison chart, it's kind of a useless benchmark, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the Renesas Electronics RA whatever processor is. Let me continue to look.
Used with embedded stuff we use somewhere at work.
Yeah, I'm actually on the original Cormark GitHub here, but I don't see any
Cormark
chart here either.
Also a frozen foods company, so.
So the CoCo runs at about 0.02 papayas or something, is what you're saying.
So, anyway, that would take further research.
Submitting results. There's a submission page. So how do you look at?
I wonder if that jumps basically back to this same place I was just at.
eembc.org?
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
That is their official site then. But you're not seeing any actual comparison charts?
I haven't dug any further.
I mean, we don't have to do this right now, but yeah, I'd like to be kind of curious if you do find that if they had other retro machines in there, I'd be kind of curious to see where we place. And honestly, when you're getting to these, older 8-bit machines and stuff, it's really going to depend on how good the C compiler works, more so than the CPU, unless you do a bare metal port.
Can you explain it this way? So it's like me and Schwarzenegger when he was young in shape. He can, bench press 500 pounds. I couldn't do like 200, but yet I can touch the middle of my back and he can't. Is there anything like that?
Could be.
The bigger the processor, the more it has to do, or it's blinding fast compared to ours, but we make crisps, memory changes or whatever. I don't see the usefulness of testing something that's a little sparse compared to a blast.
Yeah, looking for a chart. I mean, they have things like
here we got dry stones and stuff. Does that?
Yeah, like we had the old AHL benchmark from the guy that formed Rate of Computing. We've actually seen comparisons of running BASIC under Flex or BASIC 09 or Disk Basic versus TIs and IBM PCs, the original XTs and stuff like that. But
so what's the?
I'm looking at this validation here, and it's all like x86, Linux, MIP64 and 32, PowerPC. I don't see anything old in here.
What's the table that is just below the screen we have now? Yeah, here, because I see.
That's how many lines of source and comments.
Well, yeah, but they had dry stones in there, which is a known number. So it's.
I'm not sure.
More. Okay.
So AESL, is that the actual rating or something, maybe? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I just saw a comparison numbers there and thought, there's maybe something.
A chart would be nice.
Yeah, that's what most benchmarks do.
Yeah, there's a chart somewhere.
So I see categories of phone and tablet, single core processors, a word I can't even pronounce, heterogeneous, and then like Internet of Things. But then you go to them and all you get is some text. You don't get actual benchmarks themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're just not seeing or they've got it too deep in the website.
Yeah. Now, Alan, you posted in the public chat here, you said the Cormark benchmark port of the CoCo. I bet Boise's other news item is the why he bothered to port it. I don't have another Boise item. So what are you referring to? Could be I just missed it, but you there, Alan?
Yep. The other piece of news from Boise is his new OS project.
Oh, I didn't hear anything about this. What's that about?
Let me go up one directory level and look.
Meantime, I'll bring up the screen for the next story. But
so what Boise has started working on is an operating system. So it looks like it's pulling pieces and ideas that he's had to mix with pieces of Nitrous 9 to run on the Turbo 09.
Okay, and that's that 6809, Super 6809 that the guys in Florida have been doing.
Right. And his new OS project is TurbOS, TURBOS. And it's also up on the GitHub. It's not like a secret or anything. He publicly posted about it. At least one place on that I heard about it. I don't remember where. And was starting to look, but it makes sense that to compare like Nitrous 9 or a CoCo to apples to apples to something running on Turbo 9, such as this TurbOS, that you would want a benchmark that has a track record, and Cormark definitely fits that. So we'll see, but there may be further news in this space over time, and this is just seeing the work in progress as it goes.
Okay, that makes some sense. Because I know the guys that are actually working on that project specifically have mentioned, how many times faster a normal 6809
Well,
It
they
is.
had to take the project off GitHub because of legal sorting it all out with various places. And the Turbo 09 project is back on the GitHub, so I'm assuming that that's been done. And
Okay.
so yeah, it looks like Boise's off and running to go play with that. But I don't speak for Boise. Hopefully, Boise, when he gets some time and surfaces for air from digging into all this stuff, can come and explain it in small words and cool pictures for people like me.
And a benchmark chart.
Well, the benchmark that I'm pretty sure I would care about, that maybe is what he was aiming for, is regular CoCo 6309, Nitrous 9, Turbo 9. See, big.
Yeah. And Gimme X, got to throw Gimme X 3 megahertz in there too.
And scientifically provable because it's Boise.
That's a standard benchmark.
Hey Curtis, when you're programming in BASIC and you have a random thing, is it true that computers don't really do random? Or
Correct.
if they do,
Yes.
do they do that now? I mean, has that improved with computers
No.
as they've gone along?
No, it's
always the
algorithmic.
same?
No.
If you start with the same seed with the same random routine, you'll always come up with the same number. Now, people try to randomize a seed based on,
lamps.
They might do it with timing, like how long did it take the user to hit a key to start the game or whatever, and then that's your seed. So you might get a bit of
entropy.
Yeah.
So Ron, computers can't do random numbers unless you bring in other hardware. A company on the net called Cloudflare, they actually aimed cameras at one point at a wall of lava lamps and digitized that as their random number starting thing, because there's no known way to predict exactly what the lava lamp would do. Huh. And so that was their source of entropy. There is high-end hardware that gives you mathematically provable levels of entropy and randomness. But really, if you want to be truly random, you're going to be doing something like sampling atmospheric noise off of a radio or lightning crashes or something like that as
something
your
just
source
truly
data.
random. Yeah.
Or shrinking the dies of chips so much that quantum tunneling starts kicking in at random, and you start getting random quantum effects. That might work. Might have unpredictable results on the CPU itself, but hey.
Or we could hook Ron's brain to the 6809.
Thank you. You would believe I have one.
All those random questions.
Yeah,
about,
there you go. That's truly random.
Thoughts will just emanate.
Well, this had to do with other
out.
computers. Come on now.
We just have to take the words of Ron's random question and pull the ASCII values and add them together. That's the
It
seed.
wouldn't be random. It would be random.
Random, the random generator.
I want a random generator for my machine. That's more important than a real-time clock.
I'll stick with Ron Deluxe. Thank you anyway.
Yeah, quantum random effects. I like that. That's good. Anyways, the next one here is Retro Relics. This, I believe, is a UK-based person on YouTube, and he actually has done. If you notice there, the CoCo one he's got pictured on screen has been repainted as close as he could find at the time. The old silver battleship gray or whatever you want to call it. I think Cadillac gray or something else is another way to describe it. Mercedes, right? Sorry,
medium silver.
That's not what he used. He picked something close, but he repainted this one. I remember we covered this video a month or two ago. But now he's got a bunch of hardware he's been testing out. So he's got an ORC 90. He's got a stereo speech sound pack. He's got a CoCo STC. So he kind of goes through, and he doesn't have a multi-pack, so he has to kind of play with one of them at a time and try to load software up to use them. And actually has some questions about how to get stuff. Basically, he needs a multi-pack to solve a lot of his problems of some sort. But he's pretty impressed with some of the stuff there, and he actually gets the sound speech back talking. He demonstrates some games a little bit later on. He got to load off the STC, so it's kind of his discovering some of the peripherals on the CoCo. We're mentioning the William Tell Overture before, that Ron has the full software version running at the video on his website, or his Ron's Garage page on Facebook. This one actually shows the built-in one that's built into the ROMs of the ORC 90 pack, and he actually compiles and plays that, so you can hear the comparison. Honestly, the one that you have, Ron, is better than the one that's built in the ROM pack.
I didn't actually put the song on there because I was afraid it would get bounced off.
That should be legal. That's well past copyright expiration.
Well, I just put the picture of the front page on it. I didn't
Okay.
actually play it. It would be
And that would almost be
very
a badge
big
of
file.
honor if the CoCo could produce something that triggered the.
Yeah, would it?
Kind of like at CoCo Fest where it triggers, me playing guitar or something, or Rick playing guitar, and we play the song
We do
good
that.
enough it actually recognized it. Holy cow. Anyway, it's a really good video. I actually watched the whole thing here, and it's kind of fun watching him going through and exploring stuff because he's new to the CoCo. So, speaking of CMOC, a new version of CMOC was released this week. So 0.1.84, which was released on the 17th of August, just 2 days ago. Most of it's bug fixes. He did add the ability to do verbatim assembly blocks with an ASM tag, and then you can actually put it in raw assembly language embedded into your C code. So that's kind of cool. And they also mentioned some other fixes mentioned in the news file, but mostly it's bug fixes. But the main new addition there, I think, is the inline assembly, basically, which is cool because there are some things that assembly still is better for than C. I don't know if anybody's downloaded tried this yet. What was that?
Today at 12:48 p.m. on the Discord, Pierre also mentioned that he has published a new version of high-res text, a library that provides 42 by 24 or 51 by 24 software text mode on a P-Mode 4 screen. Should be slightly faster than before and now works on OS 9. And,
cool.
So that's high-res text 040. And in the any type of C channel on the Discord, him and Deke have been kicking back and forth all kinds of very esoteric, in-depth, crazy back and forth changes for CMOC and stuff for weird C compiler standard things that are Martian. And they've been just going to town this week on changing up compilers to make everybody happy and thing code work better and blah, blah. So it started as a sort of C-like, but it seems that between Deke and Pierre, they're getting it much more C standard than previously indicated.
So chew my orange cookie, is that what it stands for?
It can. That's a better explanation than anything else I've heard. And that's an example of the random question generator.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
People seed your next game off what Ron just said. That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna
See
Ron,
my
I'm
orange
calling you
cookie.
for passwords, man.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
Got 'em
Nobody will
written
crack
down my
those
arm.
ever.
Who needs lava lamps when you got Ron?
Exactly.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think CMOC is like making a mockery of C. It's a C-like language.
Oh,
Just as a guess.
Yeah, but thanks for pointing that out. I didn't even notice it. It's on the page here, but he didn't really mention it at the top there. But yeah, new high-res library for the 51 by 24 and 42 by 24, which is something the Dragon OS 9 users got used to right off the bat because that came with their version. But here in North America, you had to buy like an OPAC from Frank Hogg or something to get that kind of functionality. The Microware Tandy ones didn't add any high-res text screens. So
Yeah, and my goofy self has been sitting here trying to figure out how to get KBVDIO and Go 51 to work on the, Tandy version of OS 9 level 1. And yeah, anyway, now I don't have to. Awesome.
now, my guess here is that he's making this as a subroutine module or something for a user application. It's not going to be built in the OS, like Shell wouldn't run with this, would it?
Right.
Or am I wrong?
I don't know. You highlighted it. It came out today. I got to go look.
Okay.
The redirects printf is kind of
Because anybody who wants to see what this kind of looks like, if you've watched any of Michael Furman's videos that he's done recently on Flex, that's one of the drivers in Flex that the Frank Hogg Flex has is a 51 by 24 text screen as well. So if you want to see what it kind of looks like, there you go. This one we did mention, but I'm going to keep mentioning it every week here until the event happens, just to remind people in the UK that can get to the Center for Computing History at Cambridge that the Dragon meetup this year for 2023 is October 7th and 8th. And they will be bringing a whole bunch of machines. The emphasis this year is on software. They'll be doing some stuff with Flex, with OS 9, with Dragon DOS. You can even see some of the prototypes here, like they've got pictured from last year. There's a bunch of stuff that will be show off. So they're going to have some game competitions. I don't know if that Follies one we had on the Game On Challenge this week will be on there or not. Though it looks like an interesting enough game, it might be. But anyway, anybody who's going to be in the area, on October 7th and 8th, try to make it out there if you can. I'm going to go one of these years. Next up after that, we have Paul Ryan, who has the YouTube channel Wistela, Wistela. And he did a quick two-parter. So he got this Dragon 32, and he said, can anybody help me fix it? Because it's doing some strange things. You can hear relays clicking and stuff. I won't bother playing that one because literally later that day, he opened up the case and basically started, he unconnected the power supply, reconnected it in, pushed chips down, that kind of stuff. And that was all it took. He's not sure which specifically fixed it, but basically now it's up and running.
Everything's socketed. Could have been any of it.
Yeah. He suspects it was a power supply connection. It might not have been fully on, so maybe it was shorting out or something. Because the power supply is connected by this little cable ribbon thingy here. Not ribbon, but soft connector, whatever you call it. I'm not a hardware guy.
So I would also add a level of paladin to him for laying on hands and bringing it back to life. That's a D&D joke. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Resurrect the dragon.
Yep. So you can go watch the video where he's getting frustrated because it's not working, but he can hear cassette relays clicking when he turns it on. And then you can watch this little follow-up video he literally put out the same day when he figured out just something came loose, basically is what happened.
Now you can chew my orange cookie.
And that is it for the news this week.
It's over.
Oh man.
Now we can all
It's
get
over.
some sleep.
Show over, man. Show over.
It's over, man.
Sorry, the show ran a little long this time, but we had to let Nick prattle for a while on Neutroid. So it's
Sometimes it's only 3.5 hours.
You gotta keep asking questions.
We've had a 5-hour one here recently.
it was all those random quotes there. It was
Yeah.
So this is
I like that random. I'm gonna have to remember that. I'm gonna build that in my
artichoke.
code.
Wait a minute.
The random number generator.
The random question generator, yeah.
It's not
You
artichoke.
know what we should do
What
is
it?
we should link up random quotes and random questions with Chat GPI and which one shorts out first.
Oh, Chat GPT's doomed. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mess with Chat GPT all the time, and I can confuse that thing. And I barely speak South Texan. You start throwing astronomy quotes and stuff at it, that machine's over. He's
Sounds
gonna
like
believe
you have-
facts.
Big
Believe
hug,
facts.
Ron. Big
Sounds
hug,
like
Ron.
you have the right ascension.
No, my brain's in declination, Ron. It's in
Oh, well then.
Exactly. Big hugs, Ron.
All right. I'll take it.
Yeah. I think it actually would work. You're the best random number generator I've ever seen.
Yep. You never know what's coming.
No,
That's
not
exactly
at all.
right.
Just
We
to
don't
keep
even
it
run a
going.
betting pool, Ron.
I won't be on next week. How's that?
Oh,
then
no.
I
That's
might.
gonna be just a lame,
That's good,
straight
Ryan.
out logical show. Then that's gonna be boring.
Yeah.
No good.
Okay, who's
A
gonna
2-hour
who's gonna
show.
say Mopar and WeFax a couple times to stand in for Ron?
Mopar will get.
But that's not random. You
get
gotta come up with something brand new that Ron comes up with.
Might have
Oh
done
well,
that.
no, we can't do that.
Sometime I'll share with
Chew my
you
orange
what.
cookie.
Sometime I'll share with you what was on my high school book. What do they call it? Your high school book with the pictures in it.
Your yearbook?
Annual.
Yeah, it had something to do with the same thing what we're talking about. I have to find it. No, really.
Yeah, we do have to talk about this story at some time.
Yes,
says,
voted most
Ron-
likely to completely confuse or amaze.
to give inopportune questions at the right time or something like that.
Oh, they knew you well.
Yes, they did.
Hey, post a picture on Ron's garage.
But
Yeah.
at least it's just not totally stupid questions. They're just off.
No.
It's off.
It's just
Off.
They're random.
So
Yeah.
there is one more news story, I think, that
Oh.
could be announced.
Hmm?
Taylor and Amy had a new video drop. They're
Ooh.
playing with the gizmo to put games up on an oscilloscope.
Oh,
It uses-
Vectrix, Space Tricks, or whatever they called the Vectrix
well, it's,
remake.
it's using a 6809 processor.
Yep, same as the original Vectrix does.
All right.
Bless their hearts.
So it's
Time
like
to go look that up.
Yeah, it's a,
68A09. I think it's a 1.5 megahertz, if I remember correctly. I know Aaron's got an actual Vectrex, the original one,
The
which he showed in both
Vectrex was the A09 at 1.5. Yes,
I think they were doing the scope Trex.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's a modern recreation, and they hooked it up to an oscilloscope. The second one they had, because the first one died, and then that delayed the video for weeks. But
right. So it's CoCo related because it's got a similar processor.
Yes,
I didn't think of that because I did watch the video. I just didn't connect that. I will mention too, we've covered on the show before that there was somebody working on 609 version of the ROM for the Vectrex, which actually does a lot of the vector graphic calculations for drawing lines and stuff. And it actually did fix up some glitches on some of the original Vectrex games, which call those ROMs.
It does the math better.
Yep.
Yeah, the problem is that the Vectrex line draw is time based, and when you are doing the software timing with a different microprocessor, you got to redo all that timing, or all your scaling is off and your endpoints are off, and that had to have been a lot of fun tests. They should do like a behind the scenes video of that gone wrong.
He did a kind of a, we covered it on the show, he did kind of a blogging, like, you know, he did this change, and now, you know, some program like Scramble that used to kind of overflow and not quite keep up, it would, you know, miss parts and chunk out a mountain or something like that, which is fixed under the 609, but he had to do all these timing tweaks, otherwise, you know, the thing shrunk into a smaller space or whatever. So
yeah, awesome. I gotta go find those then.
Okay, well, we ready for the outro?
You betcha. I'm getting hungry.
Okay,
plus I gotta get back to work.
Push the button.
This concludes another episode of the CoCo Nation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCo Nation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCo Nation Show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCo Nation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCo Nation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server.
CoCo forever.
It's broke. That's why we got off the air.
Actually, I want to do something on the end of that thing where we get our famous screensaver with the click. You know, when a CoCo crashes?
The Three Musketeers.
No, we get our, you know, when you have a nice spectacular crash, you get the screen full of
the
garbage, and then the relay
garbage, and
then the relay clicks, and
then it's all done.
Then you can't remember where reset or turn off button is in the back.
So, all right. Till anything special going on next week?
Nope, there's no interviews planned until September. So,
okay. Well, till then.
So get some CoCo stuff done and make some CoCo news. We'll see you next week.
And see you all next week.